A text from an unknown number changes everything. Check her Tuesday yoga classes. Dr. Daniel Cross thought he knew his wife, his family, his life. But that single message unravels 14 years of marriage, exposing affairs, murder cover-ups, and corruption in Seattle's elite. With his 80-year-old daughter to protect and only his housekeeper as an ally, Daniel must decide accept the betrayal or surgically remove everyone who wronged him. Before we begin, let me know where you're tuning in from down in the comments. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale. Chapter 1. The numbers on my watch glowed like accusations in the dark. 2:47 a.m. I stood in the doorway of my own bedroom, my hand frozen on the doorknob, my surgical steady fingers suddenly trembling like a first-year resident's. The scene before me played out in slow motion, each detail carving itself into my memory with the precision of a scalpel. Sophia's naked silhouette moved against crimson sheets, the Egyptian cotton ones she'd insisted we needed, the ones that cost more than most people's mortgage payments. But she wasn't alone. A man's broad shoulders rose above her, his hand gripping the mahogany headboard we'd picked out together in that antique shop in Belltown. The moonlight streaming through our floor-to-ceiling windows caught something on the nightstand. A watch, a Rolex Submariner with a custom blue face. My mind, trained to process critical information in microseconds during surgery, cataloged the details with clinical detachment, even as my heart hammered against my ribs. That watch, I knew that watch. Hell, I'd spent $12,000 on that watch last Christmas, wrapped it myself with a silver bow, and handed it to Marcus while Sophia kissed his cheek and called him the best brother-in-law in the world. The Persian rug beneath my feet, another one of Sophia's finds, muffled my footsteps as I raised my phone. My hands, the same ones that could suture an artery the width of angel hair pasta, shook as I hit record. 47 seconds. That's all I could stomach before I backed away, silent as a ghost in my own home. The grandfather clock in the hallway, my father's, before the cancer took him, ticked like a countdown as I retreated to my study. The leather chair groaned under my weight, a sound that seemed to echo the breaking inside my chest. I pulled up tomorrow's surgery schedule on my laptop, forcing my mind to focus on anatomical diagrams and surgical approaches. Anything but the sound of my wife's moans echoing from our bedroom. Anterior approach to the lumbar spine. L4-L5 fusion. Patient, Margaret Chen, 54 years old. The words blurred. I blinked hard, tasting copper in my mouth where I'd bitten my cheek. Dr. Cross? Elena stood in the doorway, a steaming mug of coffee in her weathered hands. 5 a.m. already. The Seattle rain had started, pattering against the windows like nervous fingers. Our housekeeper's dark eyes that had seen too much in her 53 years took in my rumpled clothes, my clenched jaw, my white knuckles gripping the desk edge. You haven't slept, she said, not a question. Elena never asked questions she already knew the answers to. Emergency surgery prep, I lied, accepting the coffee. The mug warmed my frozen fingers, but the trembling didn't stop. Elena noticed she always noticed, but said nothing. Just placed a gentle hand on my shoulder for a moment before retreating to the kitchen. At 7:15, Sophia glided into the kitchen wearing her ivory silk robe, the one I'd bought her in Paris for our 5th anniversary. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves, her lipstick already applied, her smile bright as a surgical light. "Morning, baby," she purred, pressing her lips to mine. The kiss tasted wrong foreign, like expensive cologne and lies. Tom Ford, maybe. Marcus always wore Tom Ford. Morning. My voice came out steady. 20 years of delivering bad news to patients had taught me to control my tone. You're up early. She poured herself green juice, the emerald liquid matching the earrings I'd given her last month. Emeralds for our emerald anniversary, 14 years. What a joke. Surgery at 9. Oh. She didn't ask about the procedure. She never did anymore. I have yoga at 2, then meeting clients downtown. Don't wait up. Yoga. The word sat between us like a tumor, benign on the surface but malignant underneath. My phone buzzed against the marble countertop. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something, call it surgeon's instinct, made me look. Check her Tuesday yoga classes. She hasn't been to one in 6 months. The coffee mug slipped, just a fraction, but I caught it. Always good hands. That's what my attending used to say during residency. Cross has good hands. Good hands, broken heart. Sophia kissed my cheek again, leaving a lipstick mark like evidence at a crime scene, and floated out of the kitchen. The sound of her heels on our marble floor echoed like a countdown to something I wasn't ready to face. I stared at the anonymous text, my mind already working, already planning. Someone knew. Someone was watching. But who? And more importantly, why tell me now? The rain intensified, turning the Seattle morning into a gray wash that matched my mood. Through the kitchen window, I watched Sophia's white Mercedes pull out of our circular driveway, splashing through puddles as she drove toward her yoga class. Elena appeared beside me, refilling my coffee without being asked. "Dr. Cross," she said quietly, "sometimes the hardest surgeries aren't the ones we perform in the OR." I met her eyes in the window's reflection. She knew. Of course she knew. "How long?" I asked. 3 months, maybe 4. Her voice carried the weight of kept secrets. The yoga clothes that smell like men's cologne. The receipts from hotels, the way she showers before coming home. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. "Why didn't you? Would you have believed me?" She turned away, busying herself with the dishes. "Men like you, good men, you always believe the best until you can't anymore." The anonymous text stared up at me from my phone screen, pixels forming words that confirmed my worst nightmare. Someone out there knew my wife was screwing my brother-in-law. Someone thought I should know too. But what they didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that Daniel Cross didn't just perform surgery. Sometimes he performed revenge with the same precise, methodical approach. And I was just getting started. Chapter 2. Elena's POV. I've cleaned up after people's messes for 30 years. Blood from marble, wine from Persian rugs, tears from silk pillowcases. But some stains, they seep deeper than any cleaning product can reach. 3 weeks ago, I was doing the laundry Dr. Cross insists on doing his own, usually. But he'd been in back-to-back surgeries for 40 hours straight. Mrs. Cross's yoga bag sat by the washing machine, purple Lululemon, the kind that costs more than I make in a day. The clothes inside reeked, not of sweat from downward dogs or warrior poses. No, this was different men's cologne mixed with sex, that unmistakable musk that clings to fabric like guilt. Tom Ford Noir, if my nose was right. And after 3 decades of cleaning up after the wealthy, my nose was always right. I'd held those leggings up to the light, seeing the telltale marks on the inner thighs, the way the fabric was stretched wrong, like they'd been pulled off in a hurry and put back on backward. The sports bra had a tear near the clasp, the kind of tear that comes from impatient hands. But it was the underwear that told the real story, La Perla, not the practical cotton she usually wore to exercise. Black lace that probably cost more than my weekly grocery bill, and they were ruined in a way that had nothing to do with yoga. Now, Tuesday afternoon, I stood at the kitchen window watching Mrs. Cross load her yoga mat into her Mercedes. The mat was pristine, rolled perfectly. The purple Manduka mat that had never seen the inside of a yoga studio. "Elena, I'm heading out," she called, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. Full makeup for yoga. Right. "Yes, Mrs. Cross." I waited 5 minutes after her car disappeared before grabbing my jacket and keys. Dr. Cross was in surgery, a complex spinal fusion that would keep him occupied for at least 6 hours. He didn't need to know what I was about to do. Not yet. My beat-up Honda Civic followed at a distance, 3 cars between us always. Mrs. Cross drove like she lived fast, reckless, assuming the world would move out of her way. She sailed through yellow lights while I caught reds, but I knew where she was going. After 3 months of yoga, she was predictable. Downtown Seattle rose around us, glass and steel reaching toward gray skies. She passed the Core Power Yoga on Pine Street without a glance, past the Moto Yoga on Capitol Hill, past every damn yoga studio in the city until she pulled into the underground parking of the Aspera Building luxury condos with a view of Elliott Bay. I parked on the street, feeding the meter with quarters, and walked to the coffee shop across the street. Perfect view of the building's entrance through the rain-streaked windows. I ordered a black coffee and waited. 20 minutes later, he arrived. Marcus Whitman walked like a man who owned the world, which, given his construction empire and marriage into Seattle's old money, wasn't far from the truth. Tall, broad-shouldered, with that easy confidence that came from never hearing the word no. He used his key fob to enter the building, and I knew exactly which unit he was heading to. Penthouse B. I'd looked up the property records his investment property purchased 6 months ago, right around when Mrs. Cross's yoga obsession began. I thought about Dr. Cross, probably elbow deep in someone's spine right now, saving a life while his own fell apart. He was a good man, too good. The kind who brought me coffee when I worked late, who asked about my daughter in community college, who'd quietly paid for my mother's funeral last year without making a fuss about it. The coffee shop window gave me a perfect angle to the penthouse floor, and there movement behind the floor-to-ceiling windows. 2 figures, embracing. I raised my phone, zooming in as far as it would go. Through the rain and distance, the image was grainy, but clear enough. Mrs. Cross, wearing lingerie, I recognized the burgundy set Dr. Cross had given her for their anniversary last month. She'd modeled it for him that morning. I'd heard her through the bedroom door, teasing him before he left for work. Now she was wearing it for his brother-in-law. My hands shook as I recorded, 15 seconds of evidence before they moved away from the window. Rage built in my chest. Not for her, Sophia Cross wasn't worth my anger, but for him. For Dr. Cross, who deserved better than this backstabbing puta. Refill? The barista appeared beside me. No, thank you. I sat there for another hour, watching the rain streak down the window, thinking about the conversations I'd overheard, the pieces clicking together. Mrs. Cross on the phone last week. Mother says it's for the best. He'll never know. The trust fund. Always about money with these people. Always about what they could take, never what they gave. My phone buzzed. Emma's school. My heart jumped. I was her emergency contact when both parents were unavailable. Hello? Ms. Rodriguez? Emma's here in the nurse's office. She's upset but won't say why. Could you come? 5 minutes. I left the coffee shop, but not before taking one last photo of Marcus's Range Rover in the parking garage, license plate clear as day. Fairview Elementary was only 6 blocks away. Emma sat in the nurse's office, her little face streaked with tears, clutching her unicorn backpack. Mi niña, I said softly, kneeling beside her. What happened? She threw her arms around my neck, sobbing into my shoulder. I can't tell Daddy. Why not? Because Mommy said it's a secret. About Uncle Marcus taking us to Disneyland next week when Daddy's at the medical conference. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But I don't want to lie to Daddy. It makes my tummy hurt. Ice formed in my veins. They were using this innocent child in their deception. Oh, sweetheart. I held her tighter, feeling her small body shake with confused tears. Sometimes adults make mistakes with secrets. Is Mommy making a mistake? I chose my words carefully. Sometimes people get confused about what should be a secret and what shouldn't be. Like when Tommy stole cookies and told me not to tell, but you said stealing is wrong even if it's cookies? Exactly like that. Emma pulled back, wiping her nose with her sleeve. Elena, why does Uncle Marcus smell like Mommy's perfume sometimes? My heart cracked. Children saw everything, even when adults thought they were being clever. I don't know, mi amor. But how about we get some ice cream and forget about secrets for today? She nodded, taking my hand as we left the nurse's office. But I wouldn't forget. Every secret, every lie, every betrayal, I was keeping track. Dr. Cross deserved to know the truth, but more than that, he deserved to know he wasn't alone when his world came crashing down. As we walked to the ice cream shop, Emma chattering about her art project, I made a decision. Tonight, after she was asleep, I'd leave an anonymous note in Dr. Cross's study, just enough truth to point him in the right direction. Because some surgeries, as I'd told him that morning, weren't performed in the OR, and this particular operation was long overdue. Chapter 3. The boardroom's halogen lights felt like interrogation lamps, each one highlighting the cracks in my composure. 23 of Seattle General's top physicians sat around the polished oak table, but their faces blurred together like a watercolor left in the rain. Dr. Cross? Chief of Surgery Hammond's voice cut through my fog. Your thoughts on the proposed robotic surgery expansion? I blinked, realizing I'd been staring at my hands for God knows how long. The same hands that had been rock-steady through a 7-hour craniotomy yesterday now trembled against my thigh. Yes, the Da Vinci Xi system would significantly improve our minimally invasive capabilities. The words came out on autopilot, muscle memory from years of these meetings. The initial investment is substantial, but the reduced recovery time and improved patient outcomes justify the cost. Hammond nodded, but Dr. Patricia Chen, head of cardio, studied me with the sharp gaze of someone who'd noticed the blood in the water. "Daniel, you look like hell," James Morrison said during the break, cornering me by the coffee machine. We'd been residents together, survived the same brutal attending, shared more 3 a.m. moments of exhausted delirium than I could count. "Everything okay at home?" "Just tired." I poured coffee with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, spilling some on the marble counter. "Right." He grabbed napkins, helping me clean up. "Listen, this is probably nothing, but I saw Sophia at the Fairmont last Tuesday, afternoon around 2:30. I was meeting a pharma rep in the lobby and..." He paused, choosing his words like selecting surgical instruments. "She seemed upset, rushed past me without saying hello, which isn't like her." Tuesday, 2:30. Her yoga class was at 2. "Thanks for letting me know." My voice sounded normal, even as my mind raced. "She's been stressed with work." James squeezed my shoulder and headed back to the conference room, but I stayed behind, pulling out my phone. My fingers moved without conscious thought, logging into our joint credit card account. The charges lined up like evidence in a malpractice suit. Tuesday, Oct. 3. Fairmont Hotel, $500 Thursday, Oct. 5. La Perla, $3,400 Tuesday, Oct. 10. Fairmont Hotel, $500 Thursday, Oct. 12. Nordstrom, $800 Tuesday, Oct. 17. Fairmont Hotel, $500 every Tuesday, every Thursday. "Client meetings," she'd said. "Networking lunches." I scrolled further. 6 months of Tuesdays and Thursdays, each one a $500 charge at the same hotel. The lingerie purchases clustered around the hotel visits like satellites orbiting a lie. My surgical mind kicked in, the same methodical process I used to diagnose a complex case. Pattern recognition, data analysis, hypothesis formation, hypothesis. My wife was fucking my brother-in-law every Tuesday and Thursday at the Fairmont Hotel, room probably booked under his company card to avoid suspicion, but she was buying the lingerie herself because she wanted to feel special, wanted to feel chosen. The conference room door opened. "Dr. Cross, we're resuming." I slipped my phone away and returned to my seat, but my mind was elsewhere, dissecting the evidence with surgical precision. The presentation slides blurred past budget projections, patient satisfaction scores, surgical outcomes. I nodded at appropriate moments, the performance of attention without the reality of it. "Before we adjourn," Hammond said, "I want to address the Whitman Foundation's generous donation to our neurosurgery department." "Daniel, as the primary beneficiary of their support, would you like to say a few words?" The Whitman Foundation, Sophia's parents' charity, the golden handcuffs that bound me to this family, to this farce of a marriage. I stood, my body on autopilot. The Whitman Foundation's continued support has been instrumental in advancing our neurosurgical capabilities. Their investment in our Gamma Knife program alone has saved dozens of lives. The words tasted like ash. Harold Whitman's money, filtered through tax-exempt charity, buying influence and reputation while his daughter fucked his son-in-law in a hotel room. The meeting ended, and I escaped to my office, locking the door behind me. The space was my sanctuary medical journals stacked with obsessive precision, diplomas aligned perfectly, a photo of Emma on my desk from her first day of kindergarten. I stared at that photo, at her gap-toothed smile and her mother's blue eyes, and felt something cold and calculated take root in my chest. This wasn't about me anymore. This was about Emma, about protecting her from the fallout of her mother's choices. My computer beckoned. Hospital systems had extensive security, but I'd been here long enough to know the workarounds. Within minutes, I was in Sophia's email through the hospital's guest Wi-Fi she'd used last week when she'd come to have lunch with me. Or so she'd said. The emails painted a picture clearer than any surgical imaging. "M can't wait for Thursday. Same room, SS always. Jennifer's at her mother's all week. MM, The thing we discussed about D. I'm not comfortable with it. SS. Your mother says it's necessary. Trust me, baby. After this, we can finally be together. M. My vision tunneled, darkness creeping in at the edges like I was about to pass out. The thing about D. About me. They were planning something. Another email from Sophia's mother. Darling, remember what we discussed. The medical board only needs reasonable doubt. One mistake during surgery, one complaint from a patient's family, and the malpractice insurance will destroy him. Then you're free. The prenup won't matter if he loses his license. I sat back, the pieces falling into place with horrifying clarity. This wasn't just an affair. This was a coordinated attack, a surgical strike at everything I'd built. My phone buzzed, another unknown number. Check what happened to patient Robertson 2019. The records were altered. You didn't kill him. Robertson. The name hit like a defibrillator to the chest. My one lost patient. The shadow that followed me through every surgery. A routine procedure that went wrong. Hemorrhage that couldn't be controlled. I'd replayed it 1,000 times wondering what I'd missed. But if the records were altered, I pulled up the hospital database using my administrative access to dig into archived files. There, Robertson James, 2019. The surgical notes were mine, but something was off. The timestamps didn't match. The medication log showed drugs I'd never ordered. Someone had changed the records. Made it look like negligence when it had been. What? Murder? My hands steadied for the first time all day. This wasn't trembling from betrayal anymore. This was the calm before precise action. They wanted to destroy me with lies and altered records? Fine. But I'd learned something in 20 years of surgery. The best cuts were the ones you never saw coming, and the deepest wounds were the ones that took time to bleed. I opened a new document on my computer, typing with the same methodical precision I used to write surgical notes. Day 1, confirmed affair, 6 months minimum, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Fairmont Hotel. Day 1, discovered conspiracy involving Sophia, Marcus, and Margaret Whitman. Day 1, evidence of medical record tampering in Robertson case. Day 1, anonymous source providing intelligence. Objective, complete excision of all malignant parties with minimal collateral damage to Emma. Surgical plan. To be determined. I saved the file, encrypted it, and leaned back in my chair. Outside my office window, Seattle stretched out in the afternoon gloom, rain turning the city into an impressionist painting. They thought they were playing chess while I was distracted. They didn't realize I'd already started playing surgery, and in surgery you didn't just remove the tumor. You removed every last cancer cell, ensuring it could never come back. Chapter 4. The sound started small, Sophia's voice drifting through the heating vent in my study, a whisper that grew into a confession. Marcus, I can't keep doing this. I froze, my finger hovering over my laptop keyboard. It was 9 p.m. She'd said she was taking a bath, needed to decompress after her long day of fictional client meetings. Yes, I know what my parents have on him. Her voice cracked, and I heard footsteps pacing above me, our bedroom directly over my study. The surgery mistake that killed that patient. My blood turned to ice water. I moved silently to the vent, pressing my ear against the metal grate. No, he doesn't suspect anything. Daniel's too trusting, too focused on his precious surgeries to notice his wife is... A pause. Don't say it like that. You know I love you. I've always loved you. The Robertson case. They were talking about Robertson. Once Mother's plan works and he loses his license, the prenup becomes void. Malpractice nullifies the financial protections. We can finally... Another pause. Of course Emma comes with us. She adores her Uncle Marcus. I pulled out my phone, hit record, held it to the vent. Evidence. Everything was evidence now. The medical board review is in 6 weeks. Mother's already planted seeds with Dr. Steinberg. He's always been jealous of Daniel anyway. One word from him about concerns, and they'll investigate everything. Scene shift Elena's POV 1 hour earlier. I was folding laundry in the basement when I heard Mrs. Whitman's Bentley pull into the driveway. Margaret Whitman, Queen of Seattle Society, surgeon of reputations instead of bodies. She entered through the kitchen, didn't acknowledge me. I was furniture to her, invisible unless something needed cleaning. Sophia, darling, her voice carried down the stairs, that honey-sweet poison she'd perfected over decades of destroying anyone who crossed her. We need to discuss the timeline. I crept up the back stairs, the ones that led to the guest wing. Years of moving silently through this house served me well. Get pregnant with Marcus's child, Margaret was saying. Claim it's Daniel's, then when the malpractice suit hits, reveal the pregnancy. Courts always favor mothers in custody battles, especially when the father is facing criminal negligence charges. Mother, I'm already on birth control, which you'll stop taking immediately. I've brought vitamins to help with fertility. Marcus has good genes, strong features. The child will be beautiful. My stomach churned. Using an innocent baby as a weapon? Even for these people, it was low. What if Daniel wants a paternity test? Sophia asked. By then, he'll be too destroyed to fight. Lost license, lost reputation, lost hospital position. He'll sign whatever we put in front of him just to make it stop. I slipped back downstairs, my mind racing. Dr. Cross needed to know, but how? Another anonymous note? No. This required something more. Scene shift Marcus's office downtown. Marcus Whitman stared at the divorce papers his lawyer had messengered over, Jennifer's signature already bold on the bottom line. She wanted everything: the house, the cars, the investment portfolio, but most of all, she wanted to hurt him. His phone buzzed. Jennifer. You bastard, she hissed without preamble. I know about her. Jen, don't. Just don't. I've known for months. The late meetings, the weekend conferences that don't exist, the way you smell like her perfume. It's not what you... It's exactly what I think. You're fucking your brother-in-law's wife. Your own sister's husband's wife. God, Marcus, could you be more of a cliché? He hung up, poured 3 fingers of Macallan 25, and stared out at Elliott Bay. The construction empire he'd built with Whitman money and connections stretched across the skyline, his towers, his legacy, soon to be Jennifer's revenge. His phone rang again. Sophia. We have a problem, she said without greeting. Daniel's been asking questions. Back to Daniel's POV, I left the vent, returning to my laptop with trembling fingers. The Anderson file from 2019 opened on my screen, and I dove deeper into the medical records, cross-referencing with hospital security logs. There, an entry at 3 a.m., 2 hours after Robertson died. Marcus's keycard accessing the records room. He wasn't medical staff, he had no business there, but his construction company was renovating the East Wing then, giving him after-hours access. I pulled up the medication logs. Someone had altered the dosages after the fact, made it look like I'd overdosed Robertson on anticoagulants. But the pharmacy records, those couldn't be changed without triggering alerts, and they showed the correct dosage had been dispensed. My phone vibrated. The unknown number. Check Sophia's birth control. 3rd drawer, behind the jewelry box. How did they know our bedroom layout? I waited until I heard the bathtub draining upstairs, then made my excuse emergency consult at the hospital. Sophia barely looked up from her phone, just waved me away. But I didn't leave. I parked around the corner and walked back. Entering through the basement door Elena always left unlocked for her early arrivals. Our bedroom was dark. Sophia was in the guest room on the phone with Marcus again, probably. I found the 3rd drawer, the jewelry box I'd given her for our 10th anniversary, and behind it, the birth control pills. But something was wrong. I held them up to the light from my phone. The pills were different, slightly larger, different color. I pocketed one, then photographed the pack. Tomorrow I'd have them tested at the hospital lab. As I crept back out, Elena stood in the kitchen, silent as a ghost. She replaced them 2 weeks ago, she whispered. I saw her flush the real ones. You know? I know everything, Dr. Cross. The affairs, the plan, the fake pills. She pulled out a folder from behind the microwave. I've been documenting it. For Emma. She deserves better than this. I took the folder: receipts, photos, transcribed conversations. Elena had built a case that would make any prosecutor weep with joy. Why? I asked. Because you saved my mother's life 5 years ago. Wouldn't take payment, said it was professional courtesy. Her eyes hardened. And because that woman upstairs is a monster who deserves everything coming to her. I heard footsteps above. Sophia moving back to our bedroom. Go, Elena whispered, before she notices. I slipped out into the Seattle night, the folder clutched against my chest like armor. In my car, I sent a message to the unknown number. "Who are you?" The response came immediately. "Someone who knows what really happened to Robertson. Meet me tomorrow, midnight, Pier 70. Come alone." I stared at the message, then at the folder of evidence, then up at my house, my home that had become a war zone where I was the only one who didn't know the battle had already started. But now I knew. And tomorrow, I'd start fighting back with the only weapons I truly understood: precision, patience, and the kind of careful planning that could save a life. Or destroy one. Chapter 5. The surgical suite at Seattle General had 64 high-definition cameras. I knew because I'd helped design the system, every angle covered, every movement recorded for teaching purposes and liability protection. My bedroom, I decided, deserved the same level of documentation. The electronics store clerk didn't ask questions when I paid cash for the surveillance equipment. 4 micro cameras, each smaller than a shirt button. Motion-activated, night vision, cloud storage with encryption that would make the NSA jealous. "Home security," I said unnecessarily. He just nodded, probably used to cheating spouses and paranoid neighbors. "These ones are good for 30 days on a single charge. Audio quality is exceptional." Audio quality. To hear my wife tell another man she loved him in our bed. Elena helped with the installation while Sophia was at her fake yoga class. We worked in silence, she holding the ladder while I positioned cameras in the crown molding, behind the flat screen, inside the smoke detector. "The one in the bathroom?" Elena asked, holding up the 4th camera. "No," I said quickly. "There are limits." She nodded approvingly. "You're a good man, Dr. Cross." Even now. By 3 p.m., the system was live. I could watch my bedroom from anywhere through an app that looked like a meditation timer on my phone. Breathe in, breathe out, watch your life explode in real time. That night, I had legitimate surgery, an emergency craniotomy on a 17-year-old who'd crashed his motorcycle. 6 hours of delicate work, removing bone fragments from his temporal lobe, saving his ability to form new memories. Ironic, considering I was about to form memories I'd never be able to forget. "Beautiful work, Daniel," Patricia Chen said as we scrubbed out. "That kid owes you his life." "Just doing my job." I dried my hands, already reaching for my phone. "You've been checking that thing all night. Hot stock tip?" "Something like that." I retreated to my office, locked the door, and opened the meditation app. The bedroom cameras showed darkness, empty sheets still perfectly made with military corners, Sophia's one domestic skill. 10:47 p.m. I texted her. "Emergency surgery running late. Be home by midnight." Her response was immediate. "Poor baby, I'll wait up." The heart emoji mocked me. When had she started using those? When had I stopped noticing? 11:03 p.m. The bedroom camera activated. Sophia entered, but not in her usual pajamas. She wore lingerie I'd never seen, black lace that looked painted on, stockings with actual garter belts. She lit candles, scattered rose petals on the bed. For a moment, wild hope flared. Maybe she was waiting for me. Maybe the anonymous texts were wrong. Maybe 11:17 p.m. The front door opened. Marcus entered my bedroom like he owned it, loosening his tie with practiced ease. "He's stuck at the hospital until midnight," Sophia purred, pulling him toward our bed. "We have time." "You sure?" Marcus asked, but he was already unbuttoning his shirt, revealing the physique of a man who had time for gym sessions instead of 16-hour surgeries. "I checked his surgery schedule. That teenager's brain won't fix itself." She laughed, the sound like breaking crystal. "Besides, I want you in our bed. I want to think about you every time he touches me." I watched on my phone screen as they fell onto sheets I'd slept in last night, as they used pillows where my dreams lived, as they destroyed everything sacred about that space. But I kept recording. "Tell me again," Marcus groaned. "Tell me." "I love you," she gasped. "I've always loved you. Even at my wedding, when Daniel was saying his vows, I was looking at you." My hand clenched so hard the phone creaked. In the OR, I'd be steady as stone. Here, alone in my office, I was falling apart cell by cell. "The plan's working," Marcus said between kisses I couldn't unhear. "Jennifer served divorce papers. Once Daniel's out of the picture, we can finally be together." "With Emma," Sophia added. She already loves you more than him, calls you the fun uncle. About that, Marcus paused. Are you sure she's mine? The world stopped. The hum of hospital machinery faded. Even my heartbeat seemed to pause. Daniel doesn't know Emma isn't his biological daughter, Sophia said, each word a scalpel through my chest. Remember that conference in Vancouver 9 years ago? When you and I... But you were already pregnant when... I was 3 weeks along when I married Daniel. He thinks she was premature. She laughed again, cruel and sharp. He was so busy with his fellowship he never questioned the dates. I stumbled to my private bathroom and vomited, my body rejecting this information like a failed organ transplant. Emma. My Emma. My little girl who had my mother's eyes, or did she? Had I seen what I wanted to see? When I returned to the screen, they were done, lying in postcoital devastation on sheets that would never be clean again. We should tell Jennifer, Marcus was saying, about Emma. It might help with the divorce, prove infidelity from years ago. Not yet. We stick to Mother's plan. First, Daniel loses his license, then the custody battle. Then we reveal Emma's paternity if necessary. Sophia stretched like a cat. He'll be so broken by then he won't even fight it. 11:58 p.m. They dressed hurriedly. Marcus left through the back door. Sophia changed the sheets with practiced efficiency, hiding the evidence in the washing machine. By the time I walked through the front door at 12:23 a.m., she was in bed with a book, wearing sensible pajamas, looking like the perfect surgeon's wife. How was surgery? She asked, barely looking up. Successful. The kid will make a full recovery. That's nice. She yawned, turned off her bedside lamp. I'm exhausted. Yoga really wore me out today. I lay beside her in our bed that wasn't ours anymore, smelling the ghost of another man's cologne despite the fresh sheets. My phone sat heavy in my pocket, 43 minutes of recorded evidence that would destroy everything. But not yet. First, I had a midnight meeting with a mysterious informant. Then, a paternity test to run. Then, a surgical removal of every cancer cell in my life. I thought about the teenager whose brain I'd just saved, who'd wake up tomorrow with his memories intact, his future bright. And I thought about Emma, asleep down the hall, possibly not mine, but absolutely innocent in all of this. Tomorrow, the real surgery would begin, not with scalpels and sutures, but with precision strikes that would leave Sophia and Marcus bleeding out before they even knew they'd been cut. Daniel? Sophia murmured in the darkness. I love you. I know, I lied, already planning her destruction with the same methodical care I used to save lives. Sometimes the best surgeons had to cut deep. Sometimes they had to cut everything away. Chapter 6. Elena's POV. I'd done terrible things in my life. Left Spain with blood on my hands and secrets that woke me at 3 a.m. But watching Dr. Cross stumble through his days like a ghost that was the worst thing I'd witnessed in my 53 years. It was Thursday morning when I made my decision. Emma sat at the breakfast counter, swinging her legs and humming while she drew unicorns in her notebook. Her hair caught the morning light dark brown with hints of auburn. Nothing like Mrs. Cross's salon blonde or Dr. Cross's black hair. Elena, look! She held up her drawing. It's you and me and Daddy at the Space Needle. No mother in the picture. Even at 8, the child knew who really loved her. Beautiful, mi amor. I studied her face as she bent back over her drawing. The nose that was definitely Daniel's nose, strong and straight. But the eyes, blue like Sophia's, but the shape. I thought of Marcus Whitman's eyes, how they crinkled at the corners when he smiled his snake smile. Can I brush your hair before school? I asked. Okay, but gentle. Mommy always pulls. I ran the brush through her silk-soft strands, catching several loose hairs in the bristles. Phase 1 complete. The child skipped off to find her backpack, leaving me with the brush. Dr. Cross was in his study, staring at medical journals without reading them. He'd been like this for 3 days, ever since the recording, moving through the house like he was performing surgery on his own life, careful, precise, but dying inside. Your coffee, doctor. I set the mug on his desk, noticing the legal pad covered in calculations, times, dates, a surgical plan for revenge. Elena. He looked up, his eyes hollowed out like someone had scooped out his soul. I need to know something, but I can't ask. Does that make sense? I understood immediately. Leave your coffee mug on the counter when you go. Don't wash it. He nodded, a ghost of his former smile crossing his face. You're a good woman, Elena. No, I said quietly, but I try to do good things for good people. 2 hours later, both samples secured, I drove to Harborview Medical Center across town. Not Seattle General, too many people knew Dr. Cross there. My cousin Rosa worked in the lab at Harborview, and she owed me more favors than either of us could count. No names, I said, sliding her the samples and an envelope with $500. Just tell me if they match. Rosa looked at me with those knowing eyes that ran in our family. How soon? Yesterday. Tomorrow morning. Best I can do without raising flags. That night, I couldn't stop watching Emma at dinner, looking for signs, for proof in the shape of her smile or the way she held her fork. Dr. Cross watched her too, his love for her so fierce it made my chest ache. Mrs. Cross was at another client dinner, probably at Marcus's penthouse, planning more ways to destroy the man who'd given her everything. Daddy, Emma said suddenly, why don't you and Mommy laugh anymore? The question hung in the air like a blade. We're just tired, sweetheart. Grown-up stuff. Is it my fault? No! The word exploded from him. He pulled her into his lap, holding her like she might disappear. Never, ever think that. You're the best thing in my life. She snuggled against him, and I saw it then the way she tilted her head, exactly like Daniel did when he was thinking. Nature or nurture, blood or love. My phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Rosa. Come now. Alone. The drive to Harborview took 17 minutes. Rosa met me in the parking garage, her face unreadable. The samples match, she said. Father and daughter, 99-97% certainty. The relief knocked me back against my car. You're sure? DNA doesn't lie, Prima. Whatever story you're worried about, it's not true. I sat in my car for an hour, crying tears I didn't know I'd been holding. Emma was his. That beautiful, innocent girl was Dr. Cross's daughter, no matter what lies Sophia told Marcus. But why would she lie? What game was she playing? I drove back to the Cross house, my mind spinning. Mrs. Cross's Mercedes was in the driveway, unusual for a Friday morning. I entered through the kitchen, silent as always. Voices from the living room. Sophia and Marcus. The test was positive, Sophia was saying. I'm pregnant. Already? We've only been trying for 2 weeks. When you know, you know. Her laugh was bright, false. Daniel hasn't touched me in 2 months. When this comes out, it'll destroy him. What about Emma? You said she was mine. She is, Sophia lied smoothly. In every way that matters. Daniel might have contributed DNA, but you're her real father. You're the one she'll call Daddy when this is over. I pressed myself against the wall, pieces clicking together. She was lying to everyone Daniel Marcus, probably even herself. Using Emma as a weapon, creating a fake pregnancy to trap Marcus, destroying Daniel because... Why? Money? Power? Spite? Marcus left through the front door, bold as brass. Sophia hummed to herself, the sound of a woman who thought she'd won. I found Dr. Cross in his study, legal pad now covered in more calculations. Without a word, I placed the DNA report on his desk. He read it 3 times, his hands shaking. She's mine? Blood doesn't lie. Mrs. Cross does. But she told Marcus, she's playing everyone, including him. I told him about the pregnancy announcement, the lies within lies. Dr. Cross leaned back, and for the first time in days, I saw the brilliant surgeon instead of the broken husband. She's not pregnant. I had her birth control tested. She's been taking fertility drugs, not suppressants. She's trying to get pregnant. But she said, another lie. She's building a house of cards, Elena, and when it falls. He smiled, sharp as a scalpel. I'll make sure she's standing directly underneath it. He stood, pulled me into an unexpected hug. Thank you. For Emma. For everything. I hugged him back, this good man who deserved so much better. What will you do? Surgery, he said simply. The kind where you remove the disease completely, so it can never come back. I thought about my own past. The husband I'd left bleeding on a marble floor in Valencia, the medical license I'd burned along with my old life. Sometimes surgery was the only option. "If you need help," I said carefully, "I know how to cut too." He met my eyes, understanding passing between us. "I might take you up on that." Emma's laughter echoed from upstairs, pure and untainted by adult cruelties. We both looked toward the sound, united in protecting the one innocent soul in this house of lies. "She's mine," Dr. Cross repeated, wonder in his voice. "She always was," I replied. "Blood just confirms what love already knew." He nodded, then returned to his legal pad, adding new calculations. The surgeon was back, planning his cuts with lethal precision. And I would help him, because some cancers couldn't be treated with kindness. Some required complete excision, and I'd always been good with sharp objects. End of part 1, Fractures. The pieces were all in place now, the affair documented, the conspiracy exposed, the paternity confirmed. Daniel Cross had his diagnosis. Now it was time for the treatment plan. And in this operation, there would be no anesthesia for the guilty. Chapter 7. Daniel's POV. The Whitman estate sprawled across Mercer Island like a cancer metastasizing through pristine tissue. 20,000 square feet of marble and malice, lit up against the October night like a monument to everything wrong with my life. "You look handsome," Sophia said from the passenger seat of my Tesla, checking her lipstick in the visor mirror for the third time. She wore the emerald dress I'd bought her in Milan, backless, devastating, a weapon disguised as haute couture. "Mother will be pleased." Mother. Margaret Whitman would be pleased when I was destroyed and her daughter was free to openly fuck her son-in-law. But tonight, I'd play the devoted husband one last time. "Daniel, are you listening?" Sophia's voice carried that edge of irritation that had become her default tone with me. "Sorry, thinking about tomorrow's surgery." Always a safe excuse. "Well, stop. Tonight's important. Daddy's announcing his run for Attorney General." Harold Whitman, Attorney General. The man who'd covered up his daughter's vehicular homicide now wanted to be the state's top law enforcement official. The irony was so thick you could perform surgery on it. The valet took my keys with practiced discretion, and we entered through doors that belonged in a cathedral, not a home. The foyer alone could have housed a family of 4, all Italian marble and crystal chandeliers that threw light like accusations. "Daniel! Sophia!" Margaret Whitman descended the staircase like royalty greeting peasants. At 62, she was still beautiful in that preserved way that cost 6 figures a year to maintain. "You both look wonderful." She air-kissed Sophia, then turned to me with a smile that never reached her eyes. "Daniel, Harold's in his study. He wanted a word before dinner." Translation. Harold wanted to remind me who held my leash. His study was a shrine to power law degrees from Harvard, photos with 3 presidents, and behind his desk, a painting that cost more than most people's homes. Harold sat beneath it like a king on his throne, bourbon in hand, Marcus beside him. "Daniel." Harold didn't stand, didn't offer a drink. "We need to discuss your future." "My future's pretty clear. Surgery on Monday, clinic on Wednesday." "Your professional future." Marcus interrupted, his smile sharp as a scalpel. "The medical board's been asking questions about the Robertson case." My pulse stayed steady. Years of surgery had taught me to control my physiological responses. "Robertson was 5 years ago. Why now?" "Someone sent them an anonymous tip," Harold said, watching me like I was a witness he was cross-examining. "Suggested the records might have been altered. They're opening an investigation." The trap was elegant, I had to admit. They'd altered the records themselves, and now they'd point the board toward their own crime, knowing it would destroy me either way. "I have nothing to hide," I said, meeting Harold's gaze steadily. "Of course not." His smile was a predator's. "But investigations can be messy, bad for reputations, bad for marriages." He paused, letting the threat sink in. "Unless, of course, you have the right support. Your support. Family supports family, Daniel. But family also requires flexibility." Before I could respond, the study door opened. Jennifer walked in, Marcus's soon-to-be ex-wife, wearing a black cocktail dress that looked like armor. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, though her smile suggested she wasn't sorry at all. "Margaret asked me to fetch you all for dinner." Marcus's face darkened. "What are you doing here?" "Your mother invited me. We're still family, aren't we? At least for another few weeks." The tension in the room could have been sutured. Jennifer's eyes found mine, a quick glance that said everything. "We need to talk." The dining room was set for 20. Seattle's elite gathered around Harold's table like disciples at a Last Supper. I was seated between Sophia and Jennifer, someone's idea of a joke, probably Margaret's. "Daniel," Jennifer said quietly as the first course was served, "I heard you saved the Morrison boy last week." "Motorcycle accident?" "Tommy Morrison, yes. 17 years old. He'll make a full recovery." She leaned closer, her voice dropping. "Morrison, interesting family. The older son, Jake, he's quite successful now. Tech industry." My hand stilled on my wine glass. Jake Morrison. The anonymous texts. "I didn't know there was an older son." "Oh, yes. Had a terrible tragedy about 9 years ago. Lost his parents and sister in a car accident. Drunk driver, they said, though the driver was never caught." Her eyes flickered to Sophia, who was laughing at something her mother had said. "Jake never believed it was random. He spent years investigating." The pieces clicked together with surgical precision. Portland. The family of 3. Jake Morrison was the survivor Sophia's car had created. "Why are you telling me this?" Jennifer's smile was razor sharp. "Because Marcus is fucking your wife, and I think we both deserve better than what we've gotten from this family." Before I could respond, Harold stood, tapping his glass for attention. "Friends, family," he began, his politician's voice filling the room. "I want to thank you all for being here tonight. As you know, I've been considering my next chapter." I watched him perform, this man who'd built an empire on buried bodies and bought silence. Beside me, my phone vibrated. "Unknown number? Check your email. J.M. Jake Morrison." I opened my email under the table, finding a single attachment. Security footage from a parking garage dated 9 years ago. A white BMW, license plate clear. Sophia behind the wheel, weaving, clearly intoxicated. Then impact. 3 figures on the crosswalk. The BMW speeding away. Murder. Clear as day. Time stamped 2 hours before Harold had it handled. "Which is why I'm announcing my candidacy for Attorney General," Harold's voice boomed. The room erupted in applause. I clapped too, the sound hollow as my wedding vows. Across the table, Marcus raised his glass toward Sophia, and she blushed, actually blushed, like a teenager with a crush. "A toast," Marcus said, standing, "to family, to loyalty, to keeping our secrets safe." He looked directly at me on that last word. I stood too, raising my glass. "To secrets," I agreed, "and to justice, even when it takes years to arrive." The room went quiet. Harold's eyes narrowed. Margaret's smile flickered. "Daniel's being philosophical," Sophia laughed nervously. "Too much wine." "No," I said, still standing. "Not enough, but that's about to change." Jennifer beside me raised her glass higher. "I'll drink to that." The rest of dinner passed in a blur of veiled threats and false smiles. But under the table, Jennifer slipped me a flash drive. "Everything," she whispered. Marcus's finances, his affairs, his father's connections to the Russian mob. Use it well. After dessert, I excused myself to the bathroom but detoured to Harold's study. His computer was password protected, but the password was exactly what I'd expected Sophia's birthday. Arrogant people always chose sentimental passwords. I inserted Jennifer's flash drive, downloading everything onto my phone. Bank records, emails, photos of Harold with men who looked like they broke legs for a living. A folder labeled Portland Incident, with police reports that had been altered, witnesses who'd been paid off. "Finding what you're looking for?" Margaret stood in the doorway, martini in hand, smile sharp as winter. "Just making a call," I said, holding up my phone. "Hospital." "Of course." She glided closer, perfume overwhelming. "You know, Daniel, I've always thought you were too good for Sophia, too. Principled." "I love your daughter." "No, you don't." You love the idea of her. The perfect wife, the perfect family. But ideas aren't reality, are they? She touched my arm, nails like talons. When this all falls apart, and it will remember that you could have chosen the winning side. I'll keep that in mind. She laughed, cold as Seattle rain. You're planning something. I can smell it on you like cologne. Just remember we've been destroying people longer than you've been saving them. She left, and I waited 5 minutes before returning to the dining room. Sophia was gone powder room, someone said, but I saw Marcus was missing too. Of course. Jennifer appeared at my elbow. They're in the pool house. 3rd time tonight. How do you... I put trackers in all his clothes. Petty? Yes. Useful? Absolutely. She pulled out her phone, showing me a GPS dot in the pool house. I also have cameras in his car, his office, his condo. I've been building my divorce case for months. Why help me? Because Marcus took everything from me, my dignity, my trust, my children's respect. But you're going to take everything from him. I can see it in your eyes. That surgical precision. You're going to cut him apart piece by piece. And Sophia? Jennifer's smile was vicious. Your wife is a cancer, Daniel. And cancers need to be excised completely, or they come back. Through the window, I saw the pool house lights flicker, my wife and my brother-in-law, betraying me 50 feet from her father's dinner party. I have a proposition, Jennifer said. We work together, share information, coordinated attacks. They destroyed our marriages, we destroy their lives. I looked at this woman scorned, furious, brilliant in her revenge. What do you need from me? Harold's medical records. I know you can access them. Marcus has been funneling money from his father's accounts, if Harold's declared mentally incompetent. The power of attorney shifts to Marcus and you get half in the divorce. I nodded, appreciating the strategy. Consider it done. We shook hands, conspirators in designer clothing. Oh, Daniel? Jennifer called as I headed back to the party. Sophia's pregnant. Really pregnant this time. But here's the interesting part, Marcus had a vasectomy 3 years ago. He doesn't know I know. The final piece clicked into place. Sophia was pregnant, but not with Marcus's child, which meant, Jake Morrison, I whispered. Jennifer's smile widened. You're quicker than Marcus. It took him years to figure out I was smarter than him. As we returned to the party, Sophia appeared, hair slightly mussed, lipstick reapplied but smudged at the corner. She took my arm, playing the devoted wife. Ready to go home, darling? She purred. Almost, I said, squeezing her hand hard enough to make her wince. Just need to say goodbye to your parents. Thank them for a revelatory evening. Harold and Margaret stood by the door, accepting farewells like royalty. I shook Harold's hand, leaning in close. Your empire is built on sand, Harold, and the tide's coming in. His grip tightened, but his political smile never wavered. Careful, son. Drowning men tend to pull others down with them. Good thing I'm an excellent swimmer. As we drove home, Sophia chattered about the party, oblivious to the fact that her world was about to collapse. The flash drive burned in my pocket like a surgical laser, ready to cut. Tomorrow, the real surgery would begin, and unlike in the OR, I wouldn't be trying to save anyone. Chapter 8. Multiple POVs. Daniel's POV 5:23 a.m. She thought I was asleep. 20 years of surgery had taught me to control my breathing, to remain perfectly still even when my mind raced at 1,000 miles per hour. Sophia slipped out of bed, her movements practiced, careful. She'd gotten good at deception, but I'd gotten better at detection. I waited until I heard the bathroom door close, then rolled over exactly 3 inches to the left, just enough to make her question whether the bed had been in slightly different position when she left it. It was Tuesday, day 3 of what I'd privately termed Operation Mindbreak. Yesterday, I'd moved her reading glasses from the nightstand to the kitchen counter. She'd spent 10 minutes searching, finally finding them exactly where she always left them, or so she thought. The confusion in her eyes had been delicious, like the first cut of a perfect surgery. The shower started. I had 18 minutes. Sophia's morning routine was predictable as a metronome. I went to her closet, found her favorite black pumps, and moved the left shoe 2 inches forward from its partner. Insignificant, unnoticeable. unless you were already questioning your sanity. My phone buzzed. Elena. Coffee maker is prepared. 70% regular, 30% decaf, randomly distributed. The beauty was in the inconsistency. Some mornings, Sophia would get full caffeine, sharp and alert. Others, mostly decaf, leaving her foggy, questioning her own fatigue. Today was a 70-30 day, just enough to make her doubt whether she'd slept well. Elena's POV 5:45 a.m. Mrs. Cross came downstairs at exactly 5:47, 3 minutes later than yesterday. The shower had run 2 minutes longer. She was already feeling the effects of Dr. Cross's precision campaign. Good morning, Mrs. Cross. I kept my voice neutral, professional. Is it? She rubbed her temples, mascara slightly smudged on the left eye. She hadn't noticed yet. I feel like I haven't slept in days. Would you like your usual green juice? Yes, no, I don't know. She sat at the counter, manicured nails drumming. Elena, have you been moving things? What things, Mrs. Cross? My reading glasses, my shoes, little things. I let concern creep into my voice. Are you feeling all right? You've seemed stressed lately. I'm fine. But her voice cracked slightly. Just tired. I prepared her juice, adding the vitamins Dr. Cross had provided, nothing harmful, just B12 and iron supplements that would make her feel different. Off balance. The mind was so susceptible when it couldn't trust the body. Mrs. Cross, I said carefully, yesterday you asked me to remind you about your yoga class at 2? I did. Yes, ma'am. You said you'd been forgetting things. She hadn't, of course, but the doubt that flickered across her face was worth the lie. Seeds of uncertainty, planted with surgical precision. Marcus's POV, 10:15 a.m. Something was wrong with my entire fucking life. Something was wrong with. The IRS notice sat on my desk like a diagnosis of terminal cancer. Irregularities in reported income. 3 years of audits. My accountant was having a nervous breakdown, my lawyer was talking about potential criminal charges, and my ex-wife had frozen every joint account before I could move a penny. Jennifer was destroying me with the efficiency of a military campaign. But that wasn't the worst part. Mr. Whitman? My assistant's voice through the intercom sounded nervous. There's a Detective Morrison here to see you. Morrison. My blood chilled. Jake Morrison walked into my office like he owned it, all Silicon Valley confidence and barely contained rage. He was older than his DMV photo suggested, late 30s, with eyes that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. Marcus. He sat without invitation. We need to talk about Sophia. I don't know what, she's carrying my child. His smile was winter incarnate. Didn't know that, did you? All those afternoons you thought you were her only secret. She's been seeing me for 2 months. The room spun. You're lying. September 15th, the Fairmont. September 22nd, the Four Seasons. October 1st, your condo, yes, I know about the condo. She has a birthmark on her inner thigh shaped like a crescent moon. He was right. Fuck, he was right. What do you want? Justice. Your father-in-law killed my family. Sophia was driving. You helped cover it up. He leaned forward. But you're not my target. You're just collateral damage. I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus. His voice was soft, dangerous. I have the original police reports. The ones before Harold's people altered them. I have the parking garage footage. I have the witness Harold paid off, ready to testify. You can burn with them, or you can help me and maybe save yourself. My phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from my construction foreman. The permits for my biggest project had been mysteriously revoked. $200 million in limbo. That's just the beginning, Jake said, noting my expression. Your father's Russian connections? They're not happy about the FBI attention I've brought to their operations. You might want to avoid dark alleys for a while. He stood, straightening his designer suit. You have 48 hours to decide, Team Jake or Team Fucked. After he left, I called Sophia, straight to voicemail. I called again. Nothing. My assistant knocked. Mr. Whitman, your 2 o'clock canceled, actually. All your afternoon appointments canceled. The walls were closing in, and I couldn't tell who was pushing them. Sophia's POV 2 p.m. The yoga studio was wrong. I'd been coming here for no, wait, I hadn't been coming here. I'd been going to Marcus's condo. But today, I actually needed yoga, needed something to clear this fog in my head. Mrs. Cross! The receptionist looked surprised. We haven't seen you in months. Would you like to restart your membership? Months. But my phone rang. Marcus. Not now, I hissed. Sophia, we need to talk about Jake Morrison. The name hit like ice water. How do you know about, he just left my office, said you're pregnant with his child. The yoga studio spun. I stumbled to the bathroom, locked the door, stared at my reflection. When had I started looking so haggard? The designer concealer couldn't hide the dark circles, the stress fractures in my perfect facade. It's not his, I lied automatically. Sophia, I had a vasectomy 3 years ago. The words didn't compute. What? I'm sterile, Sophia, have been for years. So whose baby is it? I thought about the nights with Jake, the pills I'd stopped taking, the plan to trap Marcus that had somehow trapped me instead. When had I lost control of my own con? I have to go. Sophia, I hung up, splashed cold water on my face. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Check your car. Under the passenger seat. I ran to the parking garage, fumbling with my keys. Under the passenger seat, a manila envelope. Inside, photos. Me with Jake at the Fairmont. Me with Marcus at his condo. Me with a third man, Thomas, from the gym 2 years ago. How did anyone know about Thomas? Another text. Your husband knows everything. Your father is being arrested tomorrow. Your mother is having an affair with Judge Patterson. Your whole world is a lie, just like you. My hands shook. Who was doing this? Daniel was too noble, too righteous. This was something else, someone else. I drove home in a haze, nearly running 2 red lights. The house felt different, wrong. Was the couch always that far from the window? Had the painting in the foyer always been tilted? Mrs. Cross? Elena appeared like a ghost. You're home early. My yoga class was, I needed to come home. Of course. Dr. Cross called. He'll be late. Emergency surgery. But something in her eyes said differently. She knew. Everyone knew. I went upstairs, found my Xanax, took 3. The room tilted. My reading glasses sat on the nightstand, but I could have sworn I'd left them in the kitchen. My shoes were perfectly aligned, but the left one seemed wrong somehow. Daniel's POV 7 p.m. I watched the surveillance feed from my office as Sophia paced our bedroom, talking to herself, straightening things that didn't need straightening. The gaslighting was working faster than anticipated. The human mind, once it started doubting itself, created its own prison. Elena texted, she took 3 Xanax. She's unraveling. Good. Let her feel what I'd felt, that sensation of reality shifting, trust evaporating, sanity becoming negotiable. My phone rang. Jennifer. The IRS seized Marcus's accounts. He's trying to liquidate assets, but everything's frozen. Also, Jake Morrison visited him today. I know. Jake's been keeping me informed. Daniel. Her voice carried warning. Jake's more dangerous than you think. He doesn't just want justice. He wants annihilation. So do I. No, you want surgical precision. Jake wants scorched earth. There's a difference. Before I could respond, another call came through. The hospital. Dr. Cross? We need you here immediately. There's been an incident with the Robertson files. My blood chilled. What kind of incident? Someone's leaked them to the medical board, along with security footage that shows irregularities. They're saying you need to come in immediately for questioning. The trap was springing, but this time, I was ready. I'll be right there. I stood, gathering the evidence I'd compiled. Harold's criminal connections, Sophia's vehicular homicide, Marcus's tax evasion. If they wanted to play nuclear warfare, I'd brought my own warheads. Elena's POV 10 p.m. I watched from the kitchen window as police cars pulled into the driveway. Not for Dr. Cross, he was still at the hospital. They were here for her. Mrs. Cross stood at the top of the stairs, Xanax glazed and confused, as Detective Morrison Jake's friend on the force presented the warrant. Sophia Cross, you're under arrest for vehicular manslaughter in the deaths of Patricia, Robert, and Amy Morrison. She laughed, high and hysterical. This isn't real. This is Daniel doing something to my mind. This isn't real. But the handcuffs were real. The Miranda rights were real. The collapse of the Whitman Empire was very, very real. As they led her away, she looked back at me, understanding finally dawning in her drugged eyes. "You helped him," she whispered. "No," I said quietly. "I helped Emma. She deserves better than a mother who would use her as a pawn." The police cars pulled away, and I stood in the suddenly quiet house, thinking about the wine glass in the kitchen that was still exactly where Mrs. Cross had left it that morning, except it was 3 inches to the left, just enough to drive someone crazy. Chapter 9. Daniel's POV. The coffee maker sat before me like evidence in a murder trial. 3 a.m., my kitchen lit only by moonlight streaming through rain-streaked windows, and I was about to test whether my wife had tried to kill me. The syringe hole was subtle, a tiny puncture in the water reservoir's rubber seal, nearly invisible unless you were looking for it. But after reviewing the security footage, I'd seen her. 3:17 a.m., 3 nights ago, needle in hand, injecting something into the machine that made my morning coffee. I'd taken the sample to the hospital lab yesterday, ran it through mass spectrometry under the pretense of testing for contamination. The results made my surgeon's hands tremble for the first time since residency. Midazolam, versed, a benzodiazepine that would cause drowsiness, confusion, impaired motor function. In the OR, we used it for conscious sedation. In my coffee, at the doses she'd used, it would make me just impaired enough to make a fatal error during surgery. Murder by malpractice, elegant in its cruelty. Couldn't sleep? Elena stood in the doorway, her robe pulled tight against the October chill. She moved into the kitchen with the quiet confidence of someone who belonged here more than the woman who'd tried to poison me. "Testing something," I said, showing her the contaminated coffee. Her face darkened. "How long?" 3 days. Every morning I've been pretending to drink it, then switching it with a clean mug when she's not looking. Santa Maria. She crossed herself. She's truly lost her soul. I thought about Sophia upstairs, released on bail after her arrest, wearing an ankle monitor that turned our home into her prison. Her parents had paid $2 million in bail, hired Seattle's best criminal defense team, but the evidence Jake Morrison had provided was damning. "This morning," Elena said quietly, "she asked me to buy more of your favorite coffee, the expensive Colombian blend. I think she plans to increase the dose." "Let her." Elena's eyes widened. "Dr. Cross, I have a surgery tomorrow. Craniotomy on a 6-year-old with a tumor. Beautiful little girl named Lucy." I held up the contaminated coffee. "Sophia's expecting me to drink this, go to surgery impaired, and kill a child. That would destroy me more thoroughly than any divorce." "So what will you do?" I smiled, the expression feeling foreign on my face. Exactly what she expects. Drink the coffee, go to surgery. But first, I'll swap the contaminated pot with clean coffee. Then I'll have someone else test my blood for drugs immediately before surgery, documenting that I'm clean. When nothing goes wrong, she'll panic, increase the dose, and we'll have evidence of attempted murder. Elena nodded slowly. "You're going to let her hang herself." "Surgical precision," I agreed. "But I need your help." "Anything. Tomorrow morning, act normal. When I drink the coffee, I need you to witness it, maybe comment on how tired I look." "We need her to believe it's working." Elena nodded, then surprised me by taking my hand. "You're a good man, Dr. Cross. Too good for this world of vipers." Her touch was warm, comforting in a way I'd forgotten existed. For a moment, we stood there in the darkness, 2 people bound by shared knowledge of evil. "Elena," I said quietly, "what really happened in Spain?" She pulled her hand back, but gently. "My husband was a surgeon like you, but where you save lives, he took them. Elderly patients who trusted him. He'd overdose them on anesthesia, make it look natural. Their families would inherit, and he'd take a percentage. My God. I was young, stupid, in love. When I found out, I went to the authorities. But his family owned half of Valencia. The police, the judges, all bought." Her voice hardened. "So I handled it myself. You killed him. I gave him the same cocktail he gave his victims. Potassium chloride. Stopped his heart in seconds. His family knew but couldn't prove it. I had to leave everything, my license, my home, my name. Elena isn't your real name? She smiled sadly. Elena Rodriguez is who I became, the woman who cleans houses and protects good men from evil women. Before I could respond, footsteps creaked overhead. Sophia, awake. Go, Elena whispered. She can't find us talking. I retreated to my study, but not before switching the coffee pots contaminated for clean, labeled carefully for tomorrow's performance. 5:47 a.m. Sophia descended the stairs like an actress taking her mark. She'd dressed carefully silk pajamas that suggested innocence, hair tousled just enough to seem natural. The ankle monitor bulged beneath her pajama pants, a constant reminder of her new reality. Morning, baby, she purred, kissing my cheek. The same lips that had been on Marcus 2 weeks ago. Big surgery today? 6-year-old with a pilocytic astrocytoma. I poured the coffee, the clean pot with steady hands. Delicate work. You must be nervous. She watched me raise the mug to my lips, her eyes tracking every movement. I drank deeply, letting her see me consume every drop. A little. Didn't sleep well. Elena entered on cue. Dr. Cross, you look exhausted. Perhaps you should postpone. Can't. Lucy's parents drove up from Portland. They've waited months for this surgery. Sophia's smile was poison-sweet. Well, I'm sure you'll do fine. You always do. I finished the coffee, making sure she saw the empty mug. I should get ready. As I headed upstairs, I heard Sophia whisper to Elena, make sure he drinks the whole pot. He needs his energy today. Seattle General, 80 a.m. Jesus, Daniel, you look like hell. James Morrison studied me as we scrubbed in. You sure you're up for this? Just tired. Need you to do me a favor, though. I kept my voice low. Draw my blood. Full tox screen. What? Why? Can't explain now. Just do it. Document everything. Chain of custody. He looked at me strangely, but nodded. You're scaring me, brother. Just cover my ass, okay? The blood draw took 3 minutes. James labeled it, signed it, had the nurse witness it. Clean, documented proof that I was unimpaired. Lucy's parents waited in the pre-op area, terrified and hopeful in equal measure. She was drawing with crayons, blonde pigtails bouncing as she hummed. Dr. Cross! She beamed at me. Look, I drew you! It was a stick figure with black hair and a white coat, standing next to a smaller figure with pigtails. Above them, she'd written in crayon, My hero. For a moment, rage at Sophia threatened to overwhelm me. She'd wanted me to kill this child, to destroy this innocent life to cover her own sins. It's beautiful, Lucy. Can I keep it? After you fix my head, ouchie? Deal. The surgery took 4 hours. My hands were rock steady, my focus laser sharp. The tumor came out cleanly, completely, perfectly. Lucy would live a normal life, grow up, have children of her own someday. Everything Sophia had tried to steal. As I closed, my phone buzzed in the observation deck. James held it up, showing me the screen through the glass. Sophia, how did surgery go? Everything okay? The subtext screamed, Did you kill her? Are you destroyed yet? I had James text back, still in surgery, hands a little shaky, having issues. Her response was immediate, Oh no, stay strong, baby. The heart emoji mocked everything sacred about saving lives. 3 p.m. home. I walked through the front door with calculated exhaustion, letting my shoulders slump, adding a tremor to my hands that wasn't there. Sophia rushed to me, all fake concern. Daniel, how did it go? There were complications. Her eyes lit up before she could stop them. What kind of complications? My hands were shaking. I had trouble with the microscope. James had to take over for part of it. All lies, but I sold them with the dedication of a method actor. The family's upset. There might be an investigation. Oh, baby. She pulled me into a hug that felt like being embraced by a snake. It's not your fault. You've been under so much stress. I need a drink. I moved to the bar, poured scotch with deliberately shaking hands, spilled a little. Maybe I should take a leave of absence. That might be best. She could barely contain her excitement. Just until things calm down. Elena appeared with coffee. I made fresh, Dr. Cross. Your favorite blend. I saw Sophia tense. This was the contaminated pot, the real one. Thanks, but no more coffee today. Clearly, it's not helping. I set the mug down untouched. Sophia's jaw clenched. You should drink it. You need the caffeine. Maybe later. Daniel, her voice sharpened. Drink the fucking coffee. The mask slipped. Just for a second. But I saw the real Sophia, desperate, vicious, cornered. Why do you care so much about my coffee intake? I don't. You're acting strange. Am I? I pulled out my phone, showed her the lab results. Strange like putting midazolam in my coffee maker? The color drained from her face. I don't know what stop. I set down the contaminated mug. Lucy survived. Perfect surgery. No complications. James drew my blood before surgery completely clean. But this? I held up the coffee. This tested positive for enough benzos to kill someone if they drank it regularly. You're paranoid. The stress is making you... Elena stepped forward, holding an iPad showing security footage. 3:17 a.m. 3 nights ago. You with a syringe injecting the coffee maker. Sophia looked between us, calculating, then laughed high, manic. You can't prove that was drugs. Could have been vitamins, caffeine, anything. True, I agreed. Which is why I had the lab test yesterday's coffee too, and the day before, all positive for midazolam. All on days I had surgery scheduled. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. I moved closer, my voice dropping to a surgical whisper. You tried to make me kill a child to destroy my career. You failed. Daniel, please. Emma's at Jennifer's house for a sleepover. She'll be staying there for a few days. When she comes back, you'll be gone. You can't kick me out. This is my house, too. Actually, Elena said quietly, it's not. The deed is in Dr. Cross's name only. You signed a postnuptial agreement 3 years ago when you needed money for your boutique, remember? Sophia turned on her, snarling. You fucking bitch. You've wanted him all along. What I want, Elena said calmly, is for Emma to grow up without a mother who poisons people. Sophia grabbed a wine glass, threw it at the wall where it shattered like our marriage. He'll never divorce me. My father will destroy him. Your father was arrested 2 hours ago, I informed her. Federal racketeering charges. Your mother's next Judge Patterson made a deal for immunity in exchange for testimony about her bribing officials. It was a lie Harold was still free for now. But Sophia didn't know that. She collapsed onto the couch, the fight draining out of her. Marcus is bankrupt and facing federal tax evasion charges. He's not coming to save you. Jake Morrison used you to get to your father. You're pregnant with the child of a man who seduced you specifically to destroy your family. I crouched before her, meeting her eyes. You're alone, Sophia. Completely, utterly alone. She started crying then, ugly sobs that might have moved me once. Now I felt nothing but clinical satisfaction. The tumor had been excised. The guest house, I said, standing. You can stay there until you find somewhere else. The ankle monitor allows you that much movement. Elena will bring your things. Daniel, please, don't. I turned away. Love doesn't try to murder children. As I walked to my study, Elena following, I heard Sophia screaming rage, frustration, the sound of someone realizing they'd lost everything. The coffee maker? Elena asked quietly. Keep it. Evidence for the divorce. She nodded, then surprised me by touching my arm. Lucy's parents called. She's awake, asking for her hero. For the first time in weeks, I smiled genuinely. Want to come with me to the hospital? I could use a friend. I'd like that. As we left, Sophia's sobs echoing behind us, I thought about poison, how it could corrupt, destroy, kill, but also how identifying it, extracting it, could save a life. Tomorrow, I'd file for divorce and emergency custody. Tonight, I'd visit a little girl who'd live because I'd been stronger than the poison in my life. Sometimes the best medicine was simply cutting out the disease. Chapter 10. Elena's POV. The Whitman & Associates building squatted on 4th Avenue like a glass and steel tombstone, 23 floors of legal machinery that had buried more bodies than any cemetery. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, and I stood across the street in the shadow of a construction scaffold, watching the building's heartbeat, the scattered lights of late-working associates, the security guard making his rounds, the cleaning crew moving floor by floor like a slow wave. Rosa's cousin Miguel worked the night cleaning shift. He owed me I'd helped his daughter get into nursing school, wrote her recommendation letters on borrowed letterhead. Tonight, he'd prop open a service door for exactly 3 minutes at 12:15 a.m. 3 minutes to find evidence that could destroy an empire. I pulled on latex gloves, the same kind Dr. Cross used in surgery. My backpack held a USB drive, a small camera, and lockpicks I hadn't used since Valencia. Some skills you never forgot, like riding a bicycle or destroying evil men. "You sure about this?" Dr. Cross's voice crackled through my earpiece. He was parked 3 blocks away, our designated driver if everything went to hell. "Someone has to. And I'm just the invisible cleaning lady, remember? Elena, you're anything but invisible." His words warmed me more than they should. These past weeks, watching him systematically dismantle his enemies with surgical precision, I'd felt something I thought had died in Spain hope. Maybe even something more dangerous. 12:14 a.m. I crossed the street, my footsteps silent in the sneakers I'd worn for exactly this purpose. The service door was cracked, just a sliver of darkness in the building's facade. Miguel had done his part. Inside, the building hummed with that particular silence of after-hours office spaces, air conditioning whispers, elevator cables creaking, the ghost of daytime chaos. I took the stairs, avoiding cameras, counting floors in the darkness. Harold Whitman's office occupied the entire top floor. The executive elevator required a key card, but the stairs were just stairs. 23 floors. My legs burned by floor 15, but I'd climbed harder mountains in my life. The stairwell door to the 23rd floor was locked, but the picks made quick work of it. These American locks were child's play compared to the ancient mechanisms in Spanish mansions. Harold's office was a shrine to his own ego photos with presidents, judges, criminals dressed as businessmen. His desk was a massive mahogany beast that probably cost more than most people's annual salary. "I'm in," I whispered to Dr. Cross. "Security?" "Miguel said the guard takes his break at 12:30. 15 minutes in the parking garage for a smoke. I have time." The computer was password protected, but men like Harold were predictable. I tried Sophia's birthday, nothing. Margaret's, nothing. Then on a hunch, I typed the date of the Portland accident. The screen unlocked. He'd memorialized his greatest cover-up as his password. The arrogance was breathtaking. "I'm in the system. Look for a folder marked Insurance. Jake said that's their code for blackmail files." I navigated through folders organized with lawyers' precision. Contracts, mergers, acquisitions, and there, buried 3 subfolders deep. Insurance. The folder opened like Pandora's box. Hundreds of files. Names I recognized from Seattle Society pages, each with their own subfolder of sins. Judge Patterson photos with underage girls. Senator Williams' embezzlement records. Dr. Steinberg from the medical board bribes documented in spreadsheets. And then, Portland Incident 2014. My hands trembled as I clicked open the folder. Police reports, both versions original and altered. Photos from the accident scene that made my stomach turn. 3 bodies covered in sheets. A white BMW's license plate clearly visible. Witness statements that had been buried. Bank transfers to those witnesses. And a video file. I clicked play, turning the volume low. Harold's voice filled the office, recorded from what looked like a hidden camera in his own conference room. "The Morrison family is handled. 300,000 to the lead investigator, 50 each to the 2 witnesses. Sophia was never there, understand? Marcus, you'll alter the traffic cam footage. Make sure the timestamp shows her at the charity gala." Marcus's younger voice responded, "What if someone finds out?" "Then we handle them too. The way we handled Robertson." I copied everything to my USB drive, my heart racing as the files transferred. But there was more, a subfolder labeled Robertson Daniel. Inside, the real story of Dr. Cross's one lost patient. Medical records showing Robertson had been injected with potassium chloride not by Daniel, but by someone else during surgery. Security footage of a figure in scrubs entering the OR through a service door. The figure's face was obscured, but the timestamp matched when Daniel had been scrubbing out. Harold's signature on a wire transfer for $500,000 to an account in the Caymans, dated one day after Robertson's death. They'd murdered a patient during Daniel's surgery to have leverage over him. "Elena, you need to see something." Dr. Cross's voice, urgent now. "Security just got a call. Someone reported a break-in." "Mierda. How long?" 5 minutes, maybe less. I plugged in the USB, fingers flying over the keyboard to copy files. The transfer bar crawled 60%, 70 footsteps in the hallway. "Elena, get out now! Almost done!" 80%. The door handle rattled. Security was here. 90%. A key in the lock. I yanked the USB free at 98%, dove behind the massive desk as the door opened. "Yeah, I'm in Whitman's office now," the guard said into his radio. "Looks empty." His flashlight swept the room. I pressed myself against the desk, barely breathing. The light passed inches from my head. Must have been a false alarm, heading back down. I waited, counting to 100 after his footsteps faded. Then I crept to the window. 23 floors down, Seattle spread like a circuit board. No fire escape, no way down but the way I'd come. "Status?" Daniel's voice tight with concern. "Alive. Coming down." But as I reached the door, the lights flipped on. Sophia stood there, still in her pajamas and ankle monitor, her father's key card in her hand. "Hello, Elena." Her smile was razor sharp. "Stealing from my family?" "Just taking out the trash." She laughed, manic and bright. "You know what's funny? I came here to destroy these files myself, the Portland evidence. Can't have that coming out during the trial." She moved into the room, blocking my exit. "But finding you here, that's even better." The security guard is back in the parking garage. I told him I needed to get something from Daddy's office. Perks of being the boss's daughter. She pulled out her phone. "One call, and you're arrested for burglary. Goodbye, work visa. Hello, deportation." I stood slowly, calculating distances, exits, options. "Or," she continued, "we make a deal." "I don't make deals with poisoners." Her face darkened. "That's rich, coming from someone who murdered her husband." The words hit like a physical blow. "How? Daddy had you investigated the day Daniel hired you. We know everything, Elena. Or should I say, Isabella Cortez?" "The Spanish government still wants you for murder." My real name on her lips felt like violation. "Your father kills people for sport." "But he's rich and American. You're neither." She stepped closer. "Here's the deal. You leave, tonight. Never contact Daniel again. Never testify in our divorce. In exchange, I don't have you arrested and extradited. Daniel needs those files. Daniel needs to learn his place." Her voice turned vicious. "Under my heel or under the ground?" I thought about Dr. Cross waiting in the car, about Emma asleep at Jennifer's, about Lucy recovering in the hospital. Good people who deserved protection from this viper. "You know what your problem is, Sophia?" I moved toward her slowly. "You think everyone's as weak as you. Stay back. In Spain, we have a saying, La serpiente que no se ve es la más peligrosa. The unseen snake is the most dangerous." I smiled. "You've been so focused on Daniel, you never saw me coiling." She raised her phone to call 911, but I was already moving. Years of cleaning houses had made me strong. Years of surviving had made me fast. The phone went flying. We crashed into Harold's desk, papers scattering like snow. She clawed at my face, drawing blood, but I'd fought worse in Valencia alleys. "You're nothing!" she screamed. "Just the help! The help that's about to end you!" I pinned her against the window, the city lights framing her twisted face. For a moment, I considered it how easy it would be. One push. 23 floors. Problem solved. But I wasn't that person anymore. And Daniel deserved better than a murder charge. Instead, I zip-tied her wrists to the desk drawer handle Miguel's cleaning supplies included wonderful restraints and grabbed her phone. "Elena!" Daniel's voice in my ear. "What's happening?" "Slight complication. Sophia's here." "What?" "How? Daddy's key card, but it's handled." I looked at Sophia, struggling against the zip ties. Call Jake Morrison. Tell him Christmas came early. I uploaded the Portland files directly to Jake's secure server from Sophia's own phone, making sure the digital trail led back to her. Then I sent copies to 3 journalists, the FBI, and the state attorney general, all from Sophia's phone, all with her digital fingerprint. You're framing me, she gasped, realizing what I'd done. No, Carita, I'm giving you credit. Whistleblower Sophia Cross, exposing her father's crimes. You'll be famous, a hero even. They'll kill me, my father, his connections. Then you better hope protective custody is comfortable. I heard sirens in the distance. Someone had called the real police. Elena, get out now. I grabbed my backpack, the USB drive secure, and headed for the door. But I stopped, looking back at Sophia, this woman who'd tried to destroy the best man I'd ever known. You want to know the difference between us? I said quietly. You poison people. I protect them. You destroy families. I save them. You're a parasite. I'm the cure. Daniel will never love you, she screamed. You're just the maid. Maybe, but I'd rather be his maid than your kind of wife. I left her there, zip-tied and screaming, and took the stairs 3 at a time. Miguel met me at floor 10 with a cleaning uniform. I stripped off my black clothes, pulled on the uniform, grabbed a mop bucket. By the time the police arrived, I was just another invisible cleaning lady, mopping the 7th floor hallway. They ran past me toward the elevators, radios crackling about a break-in on 23. I continued mopping, calm and methodical, working my way to the service exit. 3 blocks away, Daniel waited in his Tesla, engine running. I slid into the passenger seat and he pulled away smoothly, just another car in the Seattle night. The files? I held up the USB. 98%. Everything except maybe some bank records. More than enough. He glanced at me, noticed the scratches on my face. You're hurt. She fought, but Sophia always was more bark than bite. He pulled into an empty parking garage, put the car in park, then surprised me by pulling me into a fierce hug. I was terrified. He whispered into my hair. When I heard her voice, I thought, I'm okay. I let myself sink into his warmth just for a moment. We're okay. He pulled back, his hands cupping my face, thumbs gently tracing the scratches Sophia had left. Elena, you're extraordinary. No, not just anything. You're brilliant, brave, fierce. His eyes searched mine. I don't know how I would have survived this without you. The space between us charged with something electric, dangerous. For a heartbeat, I thought he might kiss me. For a heartbeat, I wanted him to. But we both pulled back, remembering who we were, what this was. He was still married. I was still his employee. Emma still needed stability, not more chaos. We should go, I said quietly, before they review the security footage. He nodded, restarting the car. Jake's already uploading everything to WikiLeaks. By morning, Harold Whitman will be America's most wanted white-collar criminal. As we drove through the Seattle streets, I thought about the Portland files, about 3 lives lost to preserve Sophia's reputation. Tomorrow, they'd have justice. Elena? Daniel said softly. What Sophia said about Spain is the past. I cut him off gently. Like she will be soon. He nodded, understanding. We all had our ghosts. The difference was, some of us learned to live with them. Others, like the Whitmans, let them destroy everything they touched. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Isabella Cortez died in Valencia. Elena Rodriguez was born in Seattle. Welcome home. J.M. Jake Morrison, covering my tracks, erasing Isabella's digital footprint, solidifying Elena's. I was free. And somewhere across the city, Sophia Cross was explaining to the police why her phone had just exposed 9 years of her family's crimes. Sometimes the best revenge wasn't violent or dramatic. Sometimes it was just letting someone's own poison finally reach their heart. Chapter 11. Daniel's POV. Jake Morrison's penthouse looked like it had been decorated by someone who'd algorithmically determined what success should look like, all glass and chrome and edges sharp enough to perform surgery with. He stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, Seattle's Saturday morning sprawl beneath him, looking like a man who'd spent 9 years sharpening himself into a weapon. Dr. Cross. He didn't turn around. Do you know what it's like to lose everything in 17 seconds? No. That's how long it took. 17 seconds for Sophia's BMW to jump the curb, hit my family, and drive away. I've watched the footage 8,000 times. I can tell you the exact moment my mother's spine snapped, the precise angle my father's head hit the concrete, the way my sister reached for her doll as she died. I sat on his leather couch, the Portland files spread between us on his glass coffee table like evidence at a trial. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. He finally turned, and his eyes were empty as operating rooms. Be useful. He moved to his desk, pulled out a laptop that probably cost more than most cars. I've been patient, Dr. Cross. 9 years of patience. Building my company, making connections, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy them all. You've been a wonderful catalyst, but now it's time for the main event. What do you mean? He smiled, and it was winter. Sophia thinks she's pregnant with Marcus's child. Marcus thinks he's the father despite his vasectomy. You know it's neither. Would you like to know the truth? My blood chilled. You didn't. August 23rd. The Fairmont. She was drunk, angry at Marcus for canceling. I was charming, available, and she has no memory of it. He pulled up a video on his laptop. But I do. The footage was from a hotel security camera. Sophia, stumbling drunk, Jake supporting her. They entered a room. The timestamp jumped forward 3 hours. She left alone, disheveled, confused. You raped her. Legally? No, she was conscious, participated even. Morally? He shrugged. I prefer to think of it as poetic justice. She destroyed my family while drunk. I destroyed her the same way. I stood, fists clenched. You're no better than them. I never claimed to be better, just more effective. He gestured to the files. Harold's been arrested. Margaret's under investigation. Marcus is bankrupt. And Sophia? Well, she's about to learn what it's like to carry the child of someone you hate. That baby is innocent. So was my sister. She was 7. His composure cracked, just for a second, raw pain bleeding through. But you're right. Which is why I'm offering you a deal. What kind of deal? You're going to adopt the baby, raise it as your own with Elena. Give it the life my sister never got to have. He pulled out a folder. In exchange, I provide evidence that clears you completely of the Robertson case, ensures you get full custody of Emma, and makes sure Sophia spends the next 20 years in prison. And if I refuse, then I release the video of that night. Sophia goes down for drunk adultery, but the baby gets born into scandal, probably ends up in foster care. Your choice, doctor. Save an innocent life, or let it drown in its parents' sins. I thought about Emma, about Lucy in her hospital bed, about Elena's scratched face from last night's break-in. There's another option, I said quietly. Jake raised an eyebrow. We work together, but ethically. You want justice? I want my daughter safe. We can accomplish both without creating more victims. You're too noble for this game, Cross. No, I'm just a surgeon. I cut out disease without destroying healthy tissue. I met his empty eyes. Your way, everyone burns. My way, only the guilty do. He laughed, short and bitter. Fine. Your surgical precision versus my scorched earth. Let's see which works better. He pulled up another video. This is from Harold's office 3 weeks ago. Harold on screen, talking to someone off camera. Daniel needs to go down for Robertson. It's the only way to control him. If he won't play ball, we leak the altered records to the medical board. Marcus's voice. But he could lose his license. That's the point. Destroy him professionally. Sophia gets everything in the divorce, including Emma. What about the real Robertson evidence? Harold smiled on screen. What evidence? I had it all destroyed years ago. But then, a third voice. One I didn't recognize. Actually, Harold, you didn't. A woman walked into frame. Late 40s, professional suit, familiar, but I couldn't place her. Judge Patterson. Harold's voice went cold. I kept copies. Insurance, you understand. And now, with the FBI sniffing around, I think it's time we renegotiate our arrangement. The video ended. Judge Patterson has the real Robertson files, Jake said. She's been blackmailing Harold for years, But here's the interesting part, she's Margaret Whitman's lover. The pieces clicked. They're all betraying each other. A nest of vipers eating their own tails. Jake pulled up building blueprints. Patterson has a safe in her home office. Tomorrow night she's hosting a fundraiser. 500 guests, full security, perfect chaos. You want to break in during the party? Not me. Us. You, me, and Elena, if she's willing. We get the Robertson evidence. You're cleared. We get her blackmail files. The whole corrupt network collapses. That's insane. That's justice. He stood, extending his hand. Are you in, Doctor? Or do you want to keep playing defense while they destroy everything you love? I thought about Sophia upstairs in our guest house, probably plotting her next move. About Harold, out on bail, certainly planning my destruction. About Emma, innocent in all of this, needing a father who fought for her. I shook his hand. I'm in, but we do this my way. No violence, no collateral damage. Agreed. But Cross? His grip tightened. If they hurt that little girl, all bets are off. If they hurt Emma, you won't need to do anything. I met his cold eyes with my own. I'll handle it myself. My phone buzzed. Elena. Mrs. Cross left the guest house. Her ankle monitor is still there, but she's gone. Sophia's running, I told Jake. He smiled, pulling up a tracking app on his phone. No, she's not. I had her car tagged weeks ago. She's heading to, interesting, Marcus's old condo. Why would she, another buzz? This time a video message from an unknown number. Marcus's face filled the screen, bloodshot eyes, 5-day stubble. He was in his condo, Sophia visible in the background. Hello, Daniel. His voice was broken glass. By the time you see this, it'll be too late. You took everything from me. My money, my reputation, my family, so I'm taking everything from you. The camera swung to Sophia, tied to a chair, duct tape over her mouth, terror in her eyes. Your wife and my baby die in 1 hour unless you bring me $5 million and a plane to Mexico. The camera swung back to Marcus. Or maybe I'll keep her. Take her to Mexico. Raise our child away from all this. Your choice, brother. The message ended. Jake was already typing. He's desperate, sloppy. This is actually perfect. Perfect? He has a woman who tried to poison you and is carrying my child that she thinks is his. Jake's smile was surgical. Let me make a call. He dialed, put it on speaker. Morrison, Jennifer's voice answered. I was wondering when you'd call. Your ex-husband has kidnapped Sophia Cross. He wants $5 million and a plane. The idiot. He's at the condo? Yes. I'll handle it. Give me 30 minutes. She hung up. You're working with Jennifer? I asked. We all want the same thing, Cross. The complete annihilation of those who wronged us. He pulled up more surveillance footage. But Jennifer's methods are, let's say, more direct than yours. On screen, Jennifer walked into a bank, calm and composed. What is she doing? Watch. She emerged 10 minutes later with a briefcase. She's actually paying the ransom? No, she's setting the trap. Jake zoomed in on the briefcase. That's not money. That's evidence of every crime Marcus has committed, including tax fraud that implicates the Russian mob. My phone rang. Elena. Dr. Cross, I'm at the condo building. Mrs. Whitman Jennifer just went up. Should I stay there? Watch. Don't interfere unless someone's life is in danger. Understood. But Daniel, be careful. This feels like everything's about to explode. She was right. 9 years of secrets, months of planning, weeks of systematic destruction, it was all converging. Jake pulled up 4 different surveillance feeds. The condo building, Harold's house, the courthouse where Patterson worked, and our own home. The endgame's starting, he said quietly. In the next 24 hours, they'll all fall. The only question is whether you'll be standing when the dust clears. I watched the feeds, chess pieces moving across a board made of lives and lies. I'll be standing, I said, with my daughter, with Elena, with my integrity intact. And Sophia? On the screen, police cars converged on Marcus's building. Jennifer had called them. Sophia made her choices. Now she lives with the consequences. Jake nodded approvingly. You're learning, Doctor. The trick isn't to do no harm. It's to do precisely the right amount of harm to the right people. As we watched Marcus's arrest unfold on the screens, As Sophia was wheeled out on a stretcher alive but broken, I realized something. I'd started this wanting to save my marriage. Now I just wanted to save Emma from the wreckage. And maybe, if there was anything left of me afterward, save myself too. Chapter 12. Multiple POVs, Real-Time Parallel Action. 2:47 p.m. Daniel's POV Marcus's text burned on my phone screen like a diagnosis of cancer. I'm fucking your wife in your bed right now. What are you going to do about it, doctor? I stood in Seattle General's break room, still in scrubs from morning surgery, and felt something cold and precise click into place in my mind. Not rage was sloppy, unfocused. This was surgical determination. I typed back, nothing. But your son might want to know why you're not at his soccer championship. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, what? I pulled up the photo Jennifer had sent me an hour ago, Marcus Jr. in his soccer uniform, looking around the empty stands for his father. The championship Marcus had promised to attend, the one he'd chosen Sophia over. I sent it. My phone immediately exploded with calls from Marcus. I let them ring out, each unanswered call another twist of the scalpel. Dr. Cross? Patricia Thompson stood in the doorway. Your wife's here. She seems agitated. Through the break room window, I could see Sophia in the hallway, pacing, phone pressed to her ear. Her hair was disheveled, her designer dress wrinkled. She looked like she'd dressed in a hurry, or been interrupted. 2:52 p.m. Marcus's POV. The soccer field stretched before me like an accusation. Empty stands except for Jennifer and her lawyer in the front row. The game was over. Had been over for 20 minutes. Dad? Marcus Jr. stood by Jennifer, his face a mixture of hope and disappointment I'd seen too many times. You missed it. I scored the winning goal. I'm sorry, buddy. I had something more important, Jennifer finished, her voice sweet poison, like always. Jen, please. She stood, designer sunglasses hiding her eyes but not her smile. The judge signed the emergency custody order an hour ago. Full custody to me. You get supervised visits if you can fit them into your busy schedule. You can't. I can. I did. And Marcus? She leaned close, whispered so only I could hear. I know where you were. Daniel knows where you were. Soon everyone will know where you were. My phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from Sophia. 3 from Daniel, 1 from my father. The last one made my blood freeze. Goodbye, Marcus, Jennifer said, taking our son's hand. Enjoy the bed you made. Or should I say, the bed you fucked your brother-in-law's wife in. She walked away, our son, my son, looking back once before disappearing into her Bentley. I called my father back. You fucking idiot, he snarled without preamble. The IRS just froze everything. Every account, every asset. They have recordings, Marcus. Recordings of us discussing the offshore accounts. How do you think? Daniel's been playing us for weeks, and you were too busy thinking with your dick to notice. The line went dead. I stood alone on the soccer field, realizing too late that I'd lost everything that mattered for something that never did. 3:15 p.m. Sophia's POV. The house felt wrong the moment I entered. Too quiet, too still. Daniel? My voice echoed through empty rooms. I climbed the stairs, my ankle monitor weighing 1,000 pounds. The bedroom door was open. Our bed, the bed Marcus had just left, was stripped bare. No sheets, no pillows, nothing. On the nightstand, where Marcus's watch had been an hour ago, sat a single piece of paper. A lab report, pregnancy test, positive paternity test, inconclusive blood type analysis. Type AB positive. My blood ran cold. I was type A. Daniel was type O. Marcus was type A. Type AB was impossible unless. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Sophia. The voice was unfamiliar, male, cold. You probably don't remember me. August 23rd, the Fairmont. You were very drunk. Who is this? The father of your child. Though you thought it was Marcus, didn't you? Just like you let Marcus think Emma was his. I don't know what... Check your email. I opened it with trembling fingers. A video file. Me, stumbling drunk, entering a hotel room with a stranger. The timestamp clear. 3 weeks before I'd slept with Marcus again. No, I whispered. Yes, you're carrying my child, Sophia. A stranger's baby. Not your lover's, not your husband's. Mine. Why? Why would you? Because 9 years ago you killed my family. While drunk. This seemed poetic. Morrison. Jake Morrison. I'll terminate. No, you won't, because if you do, I release this video. Show the world exactly what kind of person you are. But if you carry to term, give the baby up for adoption to Daniel and Elena, I'll stay quiet. You're insane. I'm justice, Sophia. And justice, like pregnancy, is inevitable. The line went dead. I ran to the bathroom and vomited, heaving until nothing came up but bile and regret. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the woman staring back, hollow eyes, ruined makeup, the face of someone who'd played every card wrong. My phone buzzed. Marcus, where are you? Jennifer knows. She took the kids. Dad's having a heart attack. What do we do? Then Daniel. I know whose baby it is. Jake told me everything. You have 2 choices. Psychiatric treatment or prison. Choose wisely. Then my mother. Your father's been arrested. FBI. Don't come home. I sank to the bathroom floor, designer dress pooling around me like blood. Everyone was gone, every escape route blocked, every lie exposed. 3:45 p.m. Elena's POV. I watched from the kitchen as Mrs. Cross had her breakdown upstairs, her sobs echoing through the vents. Part of me felt sympathy. No one deserved what Jake Morrison had done. But then I remembered Emma, sweet, innocent Emma, who'd asked me yesterday why Mommy was so sad all the time. Dr. Cross walked through the front door, still in scrubs, looking exhausted but determined. Where is she? Upstairs. Bathroom. She knows about Jake. He nodded, poured himself coffee with hands steady as stone. Jennifer has the kids. Marcus is ruined. Harold's in federal custody. And us? He met my eyes, and for the first time in weeks I saw peace there. We survive. We protect Emma. We rebuild. Together? The word hung between us, heavy with meaning. Before he could answer, a crash from upstairs. We ran, finding Sophia in the bedroom, lamp shattered, holding a shard of ceramic to her wrist. Don't come closer, she screamed. Dr. Cross shifted into surgeon mode instantly. Sophia, put it down. Think about the baby. It's not even Marcus's baby. It's some stranger's, Jake Morrison's. I'm carrying my victim's brother's baby. The baby is innocent, I said softly, moving slowly closer. Like Emma is innocent. Emma. The fight drained from her. Oh God, Emma. What have I done to Emma? Nothing that can't be fixed, Daniel said. But you need help, Sophia. Real help. She laughed, broken and bitter. Help? I tried to poison you. I fucked your brother-in-law. I was going to frame you for murder. I know. And you still want to help me? No, he said honestly. But I want to help the child you're carrying. And Emma needs her mother to get well, even if that mother won't be in her life much. Sophia dropped the ceramic shard, collapsing into sobs. I see him everywhere. Marcus. In shadows. In reflections. I hear him calling me, but when I answer, no one's there. Daniel and I exchanged glances. The gaslighting had worked too well. Combined with the stress, the revelations, the pregnancy, Sophia's mind had fractured. There's a facility, Daniel said quietly. Private, discreet. They specialize in postpartum psychosis and trauma. You'd be safe there. What about the charges? The police? Jake will drop them if you sign away parental rights and agree to treatment. She looked at me then, really looked at me for the first time. You love him. It wasn't a question. I love Emma, I said carefully, and I respect Dr. Cross. You'll be a better mother than I ever was. She stood, swaying slightly. The facility, I'll go, today, now, before I change my mind or do something worse. Daniel made the calls while I packed her basics. Within an hour, a discreet medical transport arrived. Sophia paused at the door, looking back at the house she'd tried to destroy. Daniel? Her voice was small. I did love you once. Before the money. Before Marcus. I loved you. I know, he said gently. That's the tragedy of all this. We could have been happy. No, she said with surprising clarity. We couldn't. I was always poisoned, Daniel. You were just too good to see it. She left then, and the house exhaled like it had been holding its breath for months. 7 p.m. Multiple POVs converging. The dinner table was set for 3. Emma, home from Jennifer's, chattered about her day while carefully not mentioning Mommy. She was too perceptive, this little girl, too aware of the adult darkness swirling around her. Elena made your favorite, Daniel told her. Spaghetti with the special sauce. The secret ingredient is love, Emma announced, then looked at me. Right, Elena? Si, mi amor. Love and a little oregano. As we ate, my phone buzzed. Rosa, turn on channel 4. Daniel grabbed the remote, muted it so Emma couldn't hear. Breaking news. Harold Whitman, arrested on federal racketeering charges. Margaret Whitman, detained for questioning. Marcus Whitman, bankruptcy filing amid tax evasion investigation. The empire had fallen. Is that Grandpa? Emma asked, looking at Harold's mugshot. Yes, sweetheart. Is he in trouble? Daniel considered his words carefully. He made some bad choices. Like Mommy? The question hung in the air. Yes, I said gently. Like Mommy. But Mommy's getting help to make better choices. Emma nodded solemnly, then brightened. Can Elena stay forever, Daddy? She makes better spaghetti than Mommy anyway. Daniel met my eyes across the table, and something passed between us, not quite love, not yet, but the possibility of it. That's up to Elena, he said softly. I'm not going anywhere, I promised, reaching over to smooth Emma's hair. Outside, Seattle rain began to fall, washing the city clean. Tomorrow there would be lawyers and custody hearings and criminal trials. Jake Morrison would continue his revenge, Jennifer would take Marcus for everything, and Sophia would begin the long journey toward sanity. But tonight, in this kitchen, with this makeshift family, there was peace. Daniel's phone buzzed. Jake Morrison, Phase 1, complete. Ready for Phase 2? He turned the phone off without responding. No more surgeries tonight, he said, emergency or otherwise. We finished dinner together, Emma telling stories about school, Daniel and I carefully building something new from the wreckage of what was. Sometimes emergency surgery wasn't about saving what was dying. Sometimes it was about removing what was killing you, so something healthier could grow in its place. End of Part 2, Incisions. Beginning of Part 3, Hemorrhage. The blood was starting to flow now, not the physical kind, but the hemorrhaging of secrets, lies, and the careful facades the Whitmans had built over generations. And Dr. Daniel Cross, surgeon of bodies and destroyer of empires, was just getting started. Chapter 13. Daniel's POV. The Rainier Club's ballroom glittered like an operating room under surgical lights, too bright, too clean, hiding the blood underneath. Emma's 9th birthday party was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it felt like a funeral disguised as a carnival. Daddy, look! Emma twirled in her pink princess dress, the one she'd picked out herself, oblivious to the tension crackling through the room like electricity before a storm. I'm 9 whole years old. You're perfect, sweetheart. I straightened her tiara, my hands steady despite the FBI agents positioned at every exit. They weren't here for the cake. The Seattle elite had gathered 200 of the city's most powerful people, all pretending they didn't know the Whitman Empire was hemorrhaging out on the marble floor. Margaret Whitman held court near the champagne fountain, her smile as sharp as scalpel, playing the gracious grandmother while her husband sat in federal custody. Daniel, Jennifer approached in a black cocktail dress that looked like mourning clothes. Beautiful party. Shame about the circumstances. Where's Marcus? Her smile could have performed surgery. Drinking himself to death somewhere. Lost track after bottle 3. She sipped her champagne. You know he spent Emma's college fund on lawyers? Before I could respond, the lights dimmed. The birthday cake arrived 3 tiers of pink frosting and childhood innocence, 9 candles flickering like prayers. Make a wish, baby, I told Emma. She closed her eyes, face scrunched in concentration. The room held its breath. Then she blew out the candles, and as if on cue, the doors burst open. FBI agents flooded in like blood into a wound. Harold Whitman, the lead agent announced, though Harold was notably absent. We have a warrant for his arrest on charges of racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. Margaret's champagne glass shattered on the floor. "He's not here," she said, but her voice cracked. "He's in the men's room," I supplied helpfully. "Third stall." The agents moved. Seconds later, Harold emerged in handcuffs, his $1,000 suit no armor against justice. The birthday guests stood frozen, phones already out, documenting the fall of Seattle's king. "This is your doing," Margaret hissed at me. "You destroyed us." "No," I said quietly. "You destroyed yourselves. I just performed the autopsy." She raised her hand to slap me, but Elena appeared between us, catching Margaret's wrist with surprising strength. "Not in front of the child," Elena said softly, dangerously. Margaret yanked her hand back, and something in her face cracked. The perfect mask she'd worn for 60 years split like surgical sutures under pressure. "You want to know the truth?" She laughed, high and manic. "About precious Sophia? About Portland?" She spun to address the room, the audience she'd always craved. "My daughter killed 3 people, drunk driving, a family. We covered it up, paid off judges, cops, witnesses." The room gasped, phones recorded. Emma pressed against my leg, confused and scared. "Mom, stop." Sophia appeared in the doorway, 7 months pregnant, belly straining against her hospital-issued dress. She'd left the psychiatric facility against medical advice, her face gaunt, eyes wild. "Please stop." "Why?" Margaret laughed. "We're finished anyway. Might as well burn bright." She grabbed another champagne glass. "Should I tell them about the affairs? The poisoning? The fake pregnancy with Marcus?" "Enough." My voice cut through the chaos. I picked up Emma, shielding her from this adult catastrophe. "Elena, take her to the car." "But Daddy, my party, we'll have another one, a better one, just family." As Elena carried Emma away, I noticed the small white envelopes on each table. My heart stopped. Those weren't from me. Jennifer noticed too. "Daniel, what are those?" I grabbed one, tore it open. Inside, evidence of every guest's darkest secret. Judge Patterson's bribes, Senator Williams's affairs, Dr. Steinberg's malpractice cover-ups, each envelope personalized, each one a bomb. Jake Morrison's work. "Oh, God," Jennifer breathed, watching as guests opened their envelopes. "He's destroying everyone." The room erupted. Accusations flew. Marriages ended in real time. Business partnerships dissolved. The Seattle elite turned on each other like sharks smelling blood. Through the chaos, Marcus stumbled in, drunk beyond reason, his suit stained with vomit and defeat. "Daniel!" He swayed on the stage, grabbing the microphone. "You want to know the truth? The real truth?" The room turned. Even in their own catastrophes, they smelled fresh blood. "Daniel Cross killed a patient 5 years ago." His words slurred but carried. "Patricia Robertson, I helped cover it up. Changed the records. Made it look clean." The silence was surgical. "But here's the thing," Marcus continued, laughing. "It wasn't Daniel's fault. Harold had her killed. She was his mistress, threatening to expose his money laundering. So he had someone inject potassium chloride during Daniel's surgery." Harold, still in handcuffs, went white. "You're drunk," Margaret said desperately. "You don't know what you're saying." "I kept the recordings." Marcus pulled out his phone, hit play. Harold's voice filled the ballroom. "Make sure Robertson doesn't survive surgery. I don't care how. Make it look like Cross's error." Another voice, unclear. "The potassium chloride is ready." Harold. "Good. Daniel's reputation will keep him quiet if we need leverage later." The FBI agents were already moving, adding charges to their list, but I barely noticed. I was watching Sophia, who'd gone paper white, swaying on her feet. "The baby!" she gasped, hand on her belly. "Something's wrong!" Blood. On her legs, on the floor. Too much blood. "Call an ambulance!" I ran to her, doctor instincts overriding everything else. "She's hemorrhaging!" Sophia collapsed into my arms, the woman who'd tried to destroy me, carrying a child that wasn't mine, bleeding out on her daughter's birthday. "Daniel," she whispered, gripping my hand. "Save the baby, please. It's innocent." I held pressure on her abdomen, feeling for the baby's position. "Placental abruption. We need an OR now." "Let her die," Margaret said coldly. "She's ruined everything anyway." Jennifer slapped her. Hard. The sound echoed through the ballroom. "You're her mother?" Jennifer snarled. "Act like it for once." The EMTs arrived, loading Sophia onto a stretcher. I climbed in with them, hands still applying pressure. "Why?" Sophia asked me, tears mixing with blood. "Why save me?" "I'm not," I said honestly. "I'm saving an innocent child, just like you should have protected Emma." She nodded, understanding. "If I die, you won't. If I do, tell Emma I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her wrong, but I loved her." The ambulance doors closed. Behind us, the Rainier Club burned with scandal, the birthday party become a massacre of reputations. But ahead was Seattle General, where I'd try to save the life of a child conceived in revenge, carried by a poisoner, innocent of everything except being born into this mess. Sometimes surgery wasn't about saving the patient. Sometimes it was about saving what could still be saved from the wreckage. Chapter 14. Daniel's POV flashback interwoven with present. 5 years ago, room 506 smelled like perfume and fear. Patricia Robertson, 43, Harold Whitman's mistress for 7 years, lay on the pre-op gurney while I explained the procedure. "It's a routine craniotomy," I assured her. "The tumor is benign, easily accessible. You'll be home in 3 days." She gripped my hand, her nails manicured but bitten down to the quick. "Dr. Cross, if something happens, nothing will happen. But if it does..." Her eyes darted around the room. "There's a safety deposit box. Bank of America, box 447, everything's in there." "Mrs. Robertson, everything about Harold, what he's done, who he's paid, who he's killed." She pulled me closer. "Promise me, if something happens, you'll look." "Nothing will. Promise me. I promise." Present-day Seattle. General Sophia's blood painted my scrubs as we rushed her into OR3, the same room where Patricia Robertson died. The irony wasn't lost on me. "She's losing too much blood," the anesthesiologist said. "We need to deliver now." I scrubbed in while my mind split between past and present. Through the observation window, I saw Jake Morrison watching, his face unreadable. How long had he been orchestrating this? How deep did his revenge go? "Doctor, she's asking for you," the nurse said, "before we put her under." Sophia's eyes found mine over the surgical mask. "The truth about room 506. I know what my father did. Save your strength." "No, listen." She gripped my wrist weakly. "Patricia Robertson recorded everything. The affairs, the murders, the money. It's why he killed her. The safety deposit box." Her eyes widened. "You knew?" "She told me. Right before surgery." "The recording device," Sophia whispered as the anesthesia started taking hold. "Check the tumor. Dad had them put the recording device. Inside the tumor they removed." She went under. I stood there, scalpel in hand, revelation washing over me like cold saline. Harold hadn't just killed Patricia, he'd hidden evidence inside her own body, removed during surgery, destroyed in medical waste. Except I'd kept the tumor. Standard protocol for benign growths preserved for potential future study. It was sitting in the hospital's tissue bank, 5 floors down. "Doctor?" the surgical nurse prompted. "We need to deliver." I pushed the past aside, focused on the present. The baby was in distress, heart rate dropping. I made the incision, careful and precise, opening Sophia layer by layer like unwrapping a terrible gift. The baby emerged silent, too silent. He's not breathing. I took the infant Jake Morrison's son, though he'd never know it and worked with the same intensity I brought to every surgery. Clearing airways, stimulating response, counting compressions. "Come on, kid. You didn't ask for any of this." A cry, weak but real. "We've got him." The pediatric team took over. "He's stable." I turned back to Sophia. The bleeding wouldn't stop. Her uterus was shredded. Placenta had invaded too deep. "We need to do a hysterectomy," I told the team. "She'll never have children again." In the observation room, Jake watched me try to save the woman who'd killed his family, the woman carrying his child, the woman he'd destroyed. Our eyes met through the glass, and he nodded once. Permission, maybe. Or acknowledgement that some surgeries cut away more than tissue. 2 hours later, Sophia survived. Barely. The baby was in NICU, tiny but fighting. I found myself in the hospital's basement, tissue storage. looking for a 5-year-old tumor sample. There it was. Patricia Robertson, room 506, benign meningioma. I took it to the lab, used the MRI to look inside without destroying it, and there, embedded in the preserved tissue like a pearl in an oyster, was a micro-recording device, smaller than a grain of rice but visible on the scan. Holy shit. James Morrison, my colleague, no relation to Jake, stared at the screen. Is that what I think it is? Help me extract it without damaging it. We worked for 3 hours, delicate as diffusing a bomb. Finally, the device sat in a specimen jar, evidence of a murder everyone thought was malpractice. I plugged it into a computer through an adapter James had rigged up. The files were corrupted but recoverable. Patricia's voice filled the lab. "Harold, I'm done. I want out. I know about the Portland cover-up, the money laundering, the judge you had killed." Harold's response: "You don't get to be done, Patricia. You know too much. I've documented everything. If something happens to me, nothing will happen if you're smart. I'm having surgery next week. Daniel Cross is the surgeon. Cross, good surgeon. Shame if something went wrong. You wouldn't. Potassium chloride injected during surgery. Looks like surgical error. Cross takes the fall, you disappear, everyone wins. You're insane. I'm practical. Tuesday, room 506. Don't worry, you won't feel a thing." The recording ended. I sat in the darkness of the lab, holding evidence of my innocence and Harold's guilt. 5 years of carrying the weight of Patricia's death, and it had never been my fault. My phone buzzed. Jake Morrison. "Did you find it? How did you know?" "Sophia told me months ago, during one of our encounters. She was drunk, guilty, spilling family secrets." His voice was cold. "I've been waiting for the right moment to guide you to it. You've been playing us all." "No, Daniel. I've been conducting surgery, cutting out the cancer piece by piece." He paused. "Harold's being transferred to federal prison tomorrow. That recording should arrive at the FBI tonight, don't you think? And Sophia? We'll live with the consequences. A damaged womb, a child she'll never raise, a family destroyed, poetic justice. The baby is innocent. So was my sister." His voice cracked, just slightly. "But you're right, which is why you'll raise him. You and Elena. Give him the life my family never got to finish." "Jake, this isn't a request, Daniel. It's part of the surgery. Save what can be saved, cut away the rest." He hung up. I sat in the lab holding proof of Harold's murders, listening to Sophia's son cry 5 floors above, thinking about Emma at home with Elena, probably doing homework and trying to forget her ruined birthday party. Tomorrow, Harold would get the recording. The FBI would add murder to his charges. Patricia Robertson would finally have justice. But tonight, I had a baby to check on. A child who didn't ask to be conceived in revenge, born in blood, orphaned by design. In the NICU, I found the baby in an incubator, tiny fists waving at nothing. The nurse looked up. "The mother's asking for you. She's awake." Sophia looked smaller in the hospital bed, diminished like a tumor after radiation. "The baby? He's stable. 5 pounds, 2 ounces. He'll need a few weeks in NICU, but he'll survive." "Good." She stared at the ceiling. "I can't keep him." "I know. Will you take him? You and Elena?" I thought about Jake's plan, about justice and revenge, and innocent children caught in between. "Yes," she nodded, tears sliding into her hair. "I remembered something. About Patricia Robertson. About what my father said after." "What?" He said, "Cross is a good surgeon. Too good. If he ever finds out, we'll need leverage." That's when he started planning. The altered records, the blackmail. She met my eyes. "He was always going to destroy you, Daniel. I was just the weapon he chose." "You chose to be that weapon." "Yes, I did. And now I'm disarmed." She touched her stomach, the empty place where her womb had been. Completely. I left her there and returned to the NICU. The baby he'd need a name eventually wrapped his tiny finger around mine, grip surprisingly strong. "Your mom killed 3 people, I told him quietly. Your biological father is a sociopath playing God. Your grandmother is headed to prison. But you're just a baby. You get to start clean. Elena appeared beside me, still in her dress from the party. How is he? Fighter. Like someone else I know. She leaned against me, and I let her. What will you name him? I thought about Patricia Robertson, dead for trying to expose the truth. About Jake's family, killed by a drunk driver. About Marcus, who'd lost everything for a woman who was using him. Patrick, I said. Patrick Marcus Cross. Elena looked at me, understanding. Redemption through naming? Something like that. We stood there watching Patrick fight for each breath, while 5 floors up, Sophia faced her empty future, and across the city, Harold Whitman sat in a federal cell, waiting for the recording that would bury him deeper than any surgery could cut. Room 506 had finally given up its secrets. Now we just had to live with them. Chapter 15. Multiple POVs rooftop scene. Daniel's POV. The rooftop of Seattle General stretched out like an operating table under the October moon. Sophia stood at the edge, hospital gown whipping in the wind, 7 months pregnant but looking like she weighed nothing at all. "Don't come closer!" Her voice carried across the roof, thin as suture thread. I stopped 20 feet away, hands visible, voice calm like talking to a panicked patient. "Sophia, let's talk." "Talk?" She laughed, the sound scattering like surgical instruments hitting the floor. "Now you want to talk? After you destroyed everything?" "You destroyed yourself. I just documented it." Elena appeared beside me, moving silent as always. Behind us, security, police, Jake Morrison, everyone watching this final surgery play out. "I know what you did," Sophia said to Jake. "That night at the Fairmont. You got me drunk. I gave you exactly what you gave my family," Jake said coldly. "Destruction delivered by someone impaired. The baby isn't Marcus's. No. It's mine. Poetic justice, wouldn't you say?" Sophia's laugh turned to sobs. "I loved him. Marcus, the only real thing I ever felt." "You don't know what love is." Elena stepped forward, her voice surprisingly gentle. "Love protects. Love sacrifices. You only knew how to take." Elena's POV. I moved closer to Sophia, woman to woman, understanding something the men couldn't. She wasn't standing on that ledge because of what she'd lost. She was there because of what she'd never had. "I know what it's like," I said softly, "to be raised by monsters. To think destruction is love because that's all you were taught." Sophia's eyes found mine. "You don't know anything about me. I know your mother treated you like a possession, your father like a tool. They never loved you, Sophia. They loved what you could do for them." Her mask cracked. "Shut up." "I know because I lived it too. In Valencia, a father who saw daughters as currency, a mother who taught me to smile while bleeding." I took another step. "The difference is, I chose to break the cycle. You chose to continue it. I didn't choose anything. It was decided for me the day I was born a Whitman." "Bullshit." My voice hardened. "You chose to poison your husband. You chose to fuck his brother-in-law. You chose to use your daughter as a weapon. Those were choices, Sophia. Own them." She sobbed, swaying on the edge. "I can't have Marcus. I can't have my daughter. I can't even have my own body. You cut out my womb." "To save your life," Daniel said. "And the baby's." "What life?" She turned to face us, and I saw it then, the complete break. She wasn't the manipulative woman who'd smiled at me in the laundry room anymore. She was shattered, like a mirror showing 1,000 broken reflections. "I have nothing." "You have a choice," I said. "You always have a choice." Daniel's POV. The negotiation was delicate as any surgery I'd performed. One wrong word and she'd jump, taking Jake's child with her. "Sophia," I said carefully, "what do you want?" "I want to not exist." "That's not an option, but there are others." She laughed bitterly. "Prison, for the Portland murders? Or treatment, real treatment. There's a facility in Switzerland, psychiatric care, not punishment. You could heal." "Why would you offer that?" "Because Emma needs to know her mother got help, even if they can't be together. Because that baby deserves a chance. Because despite everything, you're sick, not evil." "I tried to poison you." "Yes." "I fucked Marcus in our bed." "Yes." "I was going to frame you for murder." "Yes." And you still want to help me? I thought about it, really thought about it. I want to help Emma, and she loves you, despite everything. That love deserves respect, even if you don't. Jake stepped forward. This is bullshit. She killed my family. And you raped her, I said flatly. Everyone's guilty here except the children. Elena's POV. I watched Sophia process Daniel's words, saw the moment she realized this was real. Not another manipulation. Not another game. Just a man offering mercy she didn't deserve. The facility, she said slowly. Would I? Would I get better? Maybe, Daniel said. With work, with time, with accepting what you've done. And Emma? Supervised visits when you're stable, if you're ever stable. The baby? Daniel and I will raise him, I said, surprising myself with the certainty. He'll know love, real love. Sophia looked at me, really looked at me. You love him, Daniel. I love Emma, and I respect Daniel. Love. Love takes time. More time than I gave it. She stepped back from the edge, legs giving out. I caught her before she hit the roof, holding her as she sobbed. I killed them, she whispered into my shoulder. The Morrison family. I was so drunk. I didn't even stop. I know. I saw their faces every night for years. Then I learned to not see them. That's when I became the monster. Monsters don't feel guilt, I said. You're broken, not irredeemable. Security moved in, gentle now that the crisis had passed. As they helped her up, she grabbed my hand. Elena, when I said you wanted him, I was wrong. You don't want to take him. You want to save him. She looked at Daniel. Save each other. Don't let my poison kill what you could have. They led her away, and I stood there, Daniel beside me, Jake Morrison's rage radiating behind us. This isn't justice, Jake said. No, Daniel agreed. It's surgery, removing the tumor while saving the healthy tissue. She murdered my family, and you murdered her womb. Everyone's even in horror. Daniel turned to face him. It ends here, Jake, or I expose what you did at the Fairmont. Jake smiled, cold as winter. You think this is over? Marcus is still out there, still dangerous. As if on cue, Daniel's phone buzzed. Jennifer. Marcus is dead, she said without preamble. Elliot Bay, suicide note confessing everything. But through the phone I heard the smile in her voice. Daniel's POV Marcus's body was pulled from Elliot Bay at dawn. The suicide note was comprehensive, confessing to the affairs, the cover-ups, the altered records. Too comprehensive, too neat. Jennifer stood at the morgue identification, dry-eyed and perfect. Yes, she said. That's my husband. But I saw the scratches on Marcus's neck, the defensive wounds on his hands, the angle of the head trauma that didn't match a jump. You killed him, I said quietly when we were alone. She smiled. Prove it. Jennifer. He destroyed my children's lives, humiliated me publicly, spent their college funds on his whore. Her voice was ice. If someone helped him into that bay, they did the world a favor. Murder isn't justice. Neither is letting him live. She straightened her designer suit. The suicide note closes all the cases. Harold goes down alone. Sophia gets treatment. You get custody. Everyone wins. Except Marcus. Marcus won the moment he hit the water. No more shame, no more failure, just silence. She walked toward the door, stopped. We're even now, Daniel. My family's revenge is complete. Don't come looking for more bodies. She left me with Marcus's corpse, another casualty in this war of marriages. But looking at him bloated, broken, finished, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sorrow. Just the cold clarity that comes after a long surgery. The tumor had been removed, all of it. Later that night, Elena and I stood in the NICU, watching Patrick sleep. Sophia was sedated, being prepared for transport to Switzerland. Emma was with Jennifer's kids, having a sleepover, protected from the worst of it. It's over, Elena said. No, Jake's still out there. Jennifer's a murderer. The Whitman empire is destroyed, but the pieces are still sharp. But we survived. I turned to her, this woman who'd risked everything to help me. Elena, what Sophia said on the roof was true. She met my eyes. I do love Emma. And I do. Care for you. But Daniel, we're both covered in blood from this war. We need time to wash clean before we can think about anything else. She was right. We stood there, not touching but together, watching an innocent baby sleep while the city burned with scandal around us. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and custody hearings and criminal trials. But tonight, in this NICU, with this unexpected family forming from the wreckage, there was peace. Surgery was complete. Now came recovery. Chapter 16. Daniel's POV. Spring in Seattle felt like surgical recovery, slow, painful, but with hints of healing. I stood in my kitchen making breakfast for 3. Emma, now confident and thriving. Patrick, 8 months old, babbling in his high chair. And Elena, who'd moved from the guest house to the main house, though still in her own room. We were playing family, but the performance was becoming real. "Daddy, can I give Patrick his bottle?" Emma asked, already the protective big sister. "Sure, sweetheart. Gentle, remember." She fed him with the focus I brought to surgery, and I saw myself in her care, Elena in her tenderness. "Mail," Elena said, sorting through envelopes. Her hand stilled. "Daniel." She held up a letter, Swiss postmark, Sophia. I opened it, Emma distracted with Patrick. "Daniel, the doctors say I'm making progress. I remember things now. Real things, not the stories I told myself. I remember the Morrisons clearly now, their faces, their screams. I wake up apologizing to them. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just want you to know I'm trying to become someone Emma wouldn't be ashamed of. Tell her I love her. Tell her I'm getting better. Don't tell her the rest." Sophia, I folded the letter, filed it away. Maybe someday Emma would want to read it. Maybe not. "Good news?" Elena asked. "Progress." She nodded, understanding. We'd gotten good at speaking in subtext, professional but warm, careful but caring. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stepped outside to answer. "Dr. Cross." Jennifer's voice, but different, scared. "I need your help." "Jennifer, we agreed." "Someone knows. About Marcus. They're blackmailing me." "Who?" "They want $5 million or they release video of that night, of me, pushing him." There had been video. Of course there had. "Come to the hospital. We'll figure this out." "Daniel, the video shows you there too. In the background. You could be implicated." My blood chilled. I hadn't been at the Bay that night. But video could be edited, manufactured. "Who's doing this?" The note just said Jay. Jake. That evening, Elena had put the kids to bed while I met Jennifer at the hospital. She looked haunted, designer armor cracking. "This is the drive they sent." She showed me the video on her laptop. It was grainy but clear enough. Marcus at the pier, drunk, stumbling. Jennifer approaching. They argued. She pushed. He fell. But there in the background, a figure that could be me. Same height, same build, checking his watch at the exact time I'd been in surgery. "It's fake," I said. "Doesn't matter, it's convincing enough." She was shaking. "My kids, Daniel." "If this comes out, we need to find Jake." "I tried. He's disappeared. His company says he's on sabbatical." I thought about Patrick sleeping at home. Jake's biological son he'd never claimed. Was this about the baby? Final revenge? My phone rang. Elena. "Daniel, you need to come home, now." "What's wrong?" "There's someone here. Says he's Marcus." Home, 10:47 p.m. The man in my living room looked like Marcus if Marcus had lost 40 pounds, grown a beard, and aged a decade in 8 months. But the eyes were wrong. Too sharp, too clear. "Hello, Daniel." Not Marcus's voice, similar but different. "Who are you?" He smiled, and I saw it then. The family resemblance not to Marcus, but to someone else. "Martin Morrison, Jake's younger brother." He stood, Marcus's height, but Jake's predator grace. The one everyone forgot existed. There was no brother in the records. Because I was in juvenile detention when the accident happened. Armed robbery. Jake's dirty little secret. He moved closer. But I got out, changed my name, built a new life, until Jake decided to destroy the Whitmans without asking if I wanted revenge. You don't? I wanted to forget, to move on. But Jake can't. Won't. He's become the monster he hunted. Why are you here? To warn you, Jake's not done. The baby Patrick, he wants him. Says it's his right as the biological father. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. Jake's very thorough. Martin pulled out a folder. But I have a different solution. Inside, Jake's medical records, psychiatric holds, violence, a diagnosis that made my blood run cold. Antisocial personality disorder with psychotic features, Martin said. My brother isn't just vengeful. He's clinically insane, has been since the accident. These are sealed records. I have ways, just like Jake does. He met my eyes. I can stop him, Daniel. But you have to trust me. Why would you help us? Because Jake destroyed my peace too. I had a life, a wife, kids who don't know their uncle is a killer. His voice broke. The Whitmans deserved punishment, but not like this. Not with innocent babies and manufactured evidence. Elena entered, having checked on the children. She saw Martin and stopped. You look like Marcus, I know. Jake thought it was poetic when he found out. Martin stood. I should go, but Daniel be ready. Jake's final move is coming, and it won't be surgical. It'll be catastrophic. He left, and Elena moved close to me. Do you trust him? I don't trust anyone anymore. I pulled her closer, and she let me. Except you. Daniel. I know. We need time. But Elena, if something happens, nothing will happen. She pulled back, eyes fierce. We've come too far to lose now. But outside, Seattle glittered with danger, and somewhere, Jake Morrison was planning his final surgery, one that would cut out everyone's heart. Chapter 17. Elena's POV. The Spanish detective stood in Daniel's living room like a ghost from another life. Inspector Carlos Mendoza, still wearing the same cheap cologne, same suspicious squint that had haunted my Valencia nights. Isabella Cortez, he said in Spanish. It's been a long time. My name is Elena Rodriguez, I replied in English, loud enough for Daniel to hear from the kitchen where he was feeding Patrick. Of course it is. His smile was knife-thin. Just like your husband's death was suicide. Daniel entered, Patrick on his hip, every inch the protective surgeon. Can I help you? Dr. Cross, I'm investigating the death of Dr. Ricardo Cortez in Valencia 6 years ago. We have reason to believe your housekeeper was involved. That's absurd. Mendoza pulled out a tablet, showed security footage from a Valencia hospital. Me, younger, thinner, desperate, entering Ricardo's office at 2 a.m., leaving at 2:47 a.m., the timestamp when Ricardo's heart stopped, 2:33 a.m. 14 minutes, Mendoza said. That's how long it takes potassium chloride to stop a heart. I felt the floor tilt but kept my voice steady. Ricardo was unstable, suicidal. Everyone knew he was murdering patients. What they didn't know was that his wife had discovered it. He pulled up more files. 17 elderly patients. All died during routine procedures. All left money to charities that traced back to Ricardo's accounts. Daniel stepped forward. Inspector, what exactly do you want? Justice, or, he paused. Cooperation. The trap. There was always a trap. What kind of cooperation? The Morrison situation. We know Jake Morrison has been operating in Spain, money laundering through biotech companies. The Spanish government wants him, but he's untouchable here. He looked at me. Unless someone with insider knowledge helps us. I don't know Jake Morrison, I lied, but Dr. Cross does. And you'd do anything to protect him, wouldn't you, Isabella? Patrick started crying. I took him from Daniel, bouncing him gently, using the motion to hide my shaking hands. Give us 24 hours, Daniel said, to discuss this. Mendoza stood. 24 hours. Then I file for extradition. Murder charges, Isabella. Life in a Spanish prison. He left his card and the threat hanging in the air. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Daniel found me in the garden, pulling weeds with unnecessary violence. Tell me, he said simply. All of it. So I did. Valencia. Ricardo. The women who came to me crying, saying their mothers had died mysteriously during simple procedures. The investigation I conducted. The evidence I found: potassium chloride stolen from the hospital, bank accounts, a ledger of deaths. I went to the police. Ricardo's family owned them. I went to the medical board. They said I was a hysterical wife. I yanked another weed. So I went to his office that night with a syringe of his own medicine. You killed him. I stopped him. There's a difference. I met Daniel's eyes. He was about to operate on a 20-year-old girl, appendectomy. Simple. She'd have died on his table. How do you know? Because I found the potassium chloride already prepared in his desk, labeled with her name. Daniel sat beside me on the garden bench. You saved her life. I took his. I looked at my hands, still dirty from gardening, from killing, from cleaning up everyone's messes. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Elena. He took my soil-covered hands in his clean surgeon ones. You did what I've been doing to the Whitmans, surgical removal of cancer. It's different. You used law, evidence, justice. I used murder. You used the only tool available. He squeezed my hands. I'd have done the same. The moon hung over Seattle like a surgical light, exposing everything. Mendoza won't stop, I said. The Cortez family wants blood. Then we give them Jake Morrison instead. How? Daniel smiled, and it was sharp as any scalpel. Martin Morrison gave us Jake's psychiatric files. Jake was in Spain 2 years ago, right when several biotech executives died mysteriously. I think Jake's been practicing his revenge globally, and I think Inspector Mendoza would be very interested in a bigger fish than you. The next morning, Mendoza returned, confident as a matador, until Daniel placed a file on the table. Jake Morrison entered Spain January 2023. 3 executives died of potassium chloride poisoning during his visit. Mendoza's eyes sharpened. How do you? The same way you do. Investigation. But here's the interesting part. Daniel pulled out bank records. Jake paid Ricardo Cortez 50,000 euros, 2 weeks before Ricardo died. I stared at Daniel. This was news to me. Ricardo was supposed to kill someone for Jake, but Isabella stopped him first. Jake Morrison is connected to your cold cases, Inspector. A serial killer using medical professionals as weapons. Mendoza studied the files. This is comprehensive. Help us stop Jake Morrison and Isabella Cortez stays buried. Elena Rodriguez continues her life here. Everyone wins. Except Morrison. Especially not Morrison. Mendoza considered, then pulled out a photo. This was taken in Barcelona 3 weeks ago. Jake Morrison at a cafe. But the woman with him, Sophia? I gasped. She left the Swiss facility 2 weeks ago, Mendoza said. Voluntary discharge. She's been meeting with Morrison in Spain. Daniel went white. She's supposed to be getting treatment. Apparently she and Morrison have been in contact for months. Love letters, plans. Mendoza smiled grimly. They're coming here, together, for the baby. Patrick. They were coming for Patrick. When? Tomorrow. Their flight lands at 2 p.m. Daniel pulled out his phone, called Jennifer. Emergency. My house. Now. Then to Martin Morrison. Your brother's making his move. To the family lawyer. Custody papers. Emergency injunction. Now. Finally, to someone I didn't expect. Dr. Thompson? It's Daniel Cross. I need a favor. That surgical conference in Miami, can you add me as an emergency speaker? Tomorrow? He hung up, turned to us. We're leaving. Tonight. All of us. Running. I couldn't hide my surprise. Strategic retreat. Let them come to an empty house. He turned to Mendoza. You want Jake Morrison? He'll be here tomorrow, breaking and entering, violating custody agreements. Arrest him then. And Isabella? Dies in Spain, officially. Close the case. Mendoza nodded. The Cortez family won't like it. Tell them she drowned. Body never recovered. They get the closure of death without the satisfaction of justice. As Mendoza left, Daniel pulled me close. Pack light. New life starts now. Daniel. I know. We're not ready. We're still healing. But Elena, we heal better together. That night as we packed, Emma helped, excited about the adventure. Patrick slept, unaware his biological parents were coming to claim him. Will we come back? Emma asked. Someday, Daniel promised, when it's safe. Is Mommy making it unsafe? The truth hung between us. Mommy's sick, I said carefully. And sometimes sick people make dangerous choices. Like when she tried to hurt Daddy? We'd never told her about the poison. Children knew more than we thought. Yes, Daniel said. Like that. Emma nodded, wise beyond her years. It's okay. We have each other now. SeaTac Airport, 11 p.m. As we boarded the red-eye to Miami, I saw him, Martin Morrison, watching from the gate across from ours. He raised his phone, typed something. My phone buzzed. Jake and Sophia just passed through Spanish customs. You have 12 hours. I typed back, end this. His response, already begun. As the plane lifted off, Seattle shrinking below, I thought about transformation. Isabella Cortez had died in Valencia. Elena Rodriguez was leaving Seattle. Who would I be when we landed? Daniel took my hand as the city disappeared. No more running after this, he promised. We make our stand in Miami. Together? Together. Patrick stirred in my arms. Emma leaned against Daniel. We looked like a family, felt like a family. Maybe we were a family, born from blood and betrayal, but family nonetheless. Chapter 18. Daniel's POV. Miami hit like surgical anesthesia, sudden, overwhelming, transformative. 6 months here had changed us. Emma was tanned and confident, Patrick walking now, calling me Dada and Elena Mama. We'd built something real in the sunshine. Then the call came. Daniel, Jake Morrison's voice, after months of silence. Lovely practice you have in Miami, right on Biscayne Bay. My blood froze. How did you think running would stop me? I've been watching, waiting, letting you believe you were safe. What do you want? What I've always wanted. My son. Patrick isn't. He is. DNA test confirmed it. Sophia and I petitioned the Spanish courts. International custody dispute. He paused. We won. That's impossible. Is it? A biological father and mother versus a disgraced surgeon and his murderer girlfriend? Oh yes, Daniel. I know about Elena's Spanish past. Inspector Mendoza was very helpful. For a price. The trap had closed. We'd thought we were free, but we'd just been circling the drain. Sophia's in a psychiatric facility, I tried. Was. She's been out for months. Fully recovered, according to her Swiss doctors. We're married now. Perfect little family. His laugh was poison. 48 hours, Daniel. Hand over Patrick or we take him by force. Legal force. With police. In front of Emma. The line went dead. Elena stood in the doorway, Patrick on her hip. She'd heard everything. We're not giving him up, she said. We might not have a choice. There's always a choice. She set Patrick in his playpen, came to me. Jake Morrison thinks he's won, but he doesn't know everything. What do you mean? She pulled out her phone, showed me a message from Martin Morrison. Jake's not the only one who's been watching. Check your email. The video file was labeled Barcelona Cafe. Jake and Sophia at a table, but the audio was clear. Once we have the baby, Sophia was saying, we disappear. New identities, the money from my father's hidden accounts. What about Daniel and Elena? Accidents happen. Miami's dangerous. Surgeon and nanny tragically killed in home invasion. She smiled, the old Sophia, the poisoner. I still have contacts, people who make problems disappear. And Emma? Foster care. Or maybe she has an accident too. They were planning to kill us. All of us. This changes everything, I said. Elena nodded. Self-defense isn't murder. That night. We put the kids to bed early, then sat in our Miami kitchen, planning like we were preparing for surgery. Jake's here in Miami, Elena said, tracking his phone. Fontainebleau Hotel. Sophia? With him. I thought about calling the police, but with their Spanish court documents, they might actually have a claim. International custody law was complex, and money could buy a lot of legal interpretation. We need leverage, I said. We have it. Jennifer walked through our back door, unexpected as a hemorrhage. Hello, Daniel. How? Martin called me, told me about Jake's plan. She sat down, still impeccable after all these months. I've been investigating our friend Jake. Did you know he's not actually Jake Morrison? What? She slid a folder across the table. Jake Morrison died in the accident with his family. This man is Theodore Blackwood. He was Jake's roommate in boarding school, obsessed with the Morrison family. When they died, he took Jake's identity, his inheritance, everything. The room spun. He's not even the real victim? No, he's a psychopath who used a tragedy to build a revenge fantasy. Jennifer smiled. And I have proof. DNA from the real Jake Morrison's body. Dental records. School photos showing them together. My God. There's more. The night at the Fairmont? When he claims he conceived Patrick? Hotel records show Sophia was alone. Patrick isn't his. The DNA test he claims to have is fake. Then who? You, Elena said quietly. Patrick is yours, Daniel. The night before you found out about the affair, remember? You and Sophia trying to reconcile? I did remember. One last attempt to save our marriage. Sophia crying, saying she wanted to fix things. We'd made love like we were trying to resurrect the dead. But the timing fits perfectly. Patrick was born at 37 weeks, premature but not unusual. Jennifer pulled out medical records. I had my doctor friend review everything. Patrick is definitely yours. Theodore Blackwood, pretending to be Jake Morrison, claiming my son. We end this tonight, I said. The Fontainebleau 2 a.m. getting into the hotel was easy. Jennifer had connections everywhere. The key card to Jake's Theodore's suite slid in smoothly. He was on the balcony, Sophia beside him, Miami glittering below. They didn't hear us enter. Tomorrow, he was saying, we take the baby. Then the accidents happen. You promised no violence, Sophia said, but her voice was uncertain. I promised you revenge. This is what it looks like. Jake. Don't call me that. He grabbed her arm, violent. Jake died 9 years ago. I'm Theodore. I've always been Theodore. You said you were. I said what you needed to hear. Just like you said Daniel's daughter wasn't his. We're both liars, darling. That's why we're perfect together. Sophia tried to pull away. You're hurting me. Good. Pain is honest. He yanked her closer. You think you can back out now, after everything I've done for you? Let her go. I stepped onto the balcony. Theodore spun, still gripping Sophia. Daniel, how? Hello, Theodore. He went white. That's not my Theodore Blackwood, born in Portland, 1987. Roommate to the real Jake Morrison. Identity thief, fraud. I moved closer. The FBI is downstairs, with the Spanish police and Miami dad. You're lying. Elena appeared, holding up her phone. All recorded. Your confession, your plans to murder us. That's inadmissible. In court, maybe. But on the news? Social media? Jennifer emerged from the shadows. Theodore Blackwood, fake millionaire planning to murder a family? That'll trend for weeks. Theodore looked between us, calculating. Then he smiled. None of this matters if I have him. He pulled out a gun, aimed at me. Patrick's mine. Biology doesn't matter. Possession does. He's not yours, Sophia said quietly. I lied. Patrick is Daniel's. Theodore turned on her. What? I needed you to get me out of Switzerland, so I lied. Patrick was conceived before I ever met you. The gun swung toward her. You used me? Like you used Jake Morrison's identity. The gun fired, but not at Sophia. Theodore had turned it on himself, the bullet catching him in the shoulder as Martin Morrison, the real Morrison brother, tackled him from behind. They fought on the balcony, 20 stories up. The gun skittered away. Theodore was stronger, crazier, had nothing to lose. He got Martin against the railing, pushing him back. Elena moved. Not with violence, but with precision. A syringe, fast as thought, into Theodore's neck. He collapsed instantly. Sedative, she said calmly. He'll wake up in custody. Sophia stood frozen, blood on her designer dress from Theodore's shoulder wound. You saved me, she said to all of us. We saved our children, I corrected. The police arrived, summoned by Martin's earlier call. Theodore was arrested fraud, attempted murder, conspiracy. The charges would stick. His revenge fantasy was over. Sophia looked at me, tears running down her face. I'm sorry for everything. I was so broken, I broke everything I touched. I know. Can I? Can I see him? Patrick, just once? I thought about it. About mercy and justice and children who deserved closure. Tomorrow, supervised, 1 hour. She nodded, understanding more than she deserved. The next morning, Sophia sat in our Miami garden, Patrick in her arms. He didn't know her, reached for Elena constantly, but she held him like he was made of spun sugar and dreams. "He looks like you," she told me. "Your eyes, your stubborn chin. He has your nose." "Poor kid." She laughed, then cried. "I'm going back to Switzerland. The real program this time. Maybe in a few years. Maybe I can be someone he wouldn't be ashamed to know." Maybe. She handed Patrick to Elena, the gesture symbolic the real mother taking the child from the birth mother. "Take care of them," she said to Elena. "All of them. With my life." Sophia left then, walking away without looking back. The strong choice, the right choice. That evening, we sat on our Miami beach, kids playing in the sand. The call came from Seattle Jennifer, wrapping up loose ends. Theodore pled guilty to avoid trial. Life in prison. Martin's handling the Morrison estate, the real one. He wants to set up a fund for Patrick. We don't need. It's not about need. It's about a real uncle wanting to help his nephew. Let him. After she hung up, Elena leaned against me, Patrick toddling between us, Emma building sandcastles. "It's over," she said. "Really over." "Yeah. So what now?" I thought about it. The practice was thriving. The kids were happy. We had built something here. "Now we live," I said. "No more revenge, no more running, just living. Together." I kissed her, there on the beach, with our children playing and the sun setting over Biscayne Bay. Together. Patrick laughed, falling into the sand. Emma helped him up, protective big sister to the end. We weren't the family we'd planned to be. We were the family we'd fought to become, and that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Chapter 19. 48 hours, multiple POVs. Hour 1. Daniel's POV. The note was pinned to Emma's empty desk with a surgical scalpel, my surgical scalpel, taken from my office. Daddy should have stayed out of it. Jay. But Jake was supposed to be in prison. Theodore. Whatever his name was. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Missing something, doctor?" Not Theodore's voice. Female, familiar. "Jennifer?" Her laugh was pure poison. "Did you really think I'd let you destroy my life and walk away happy?" "Jennifer, where is Emma?" "Safe. For now. Marcus died because of you. My children lost their father because of you. You killed Marcus. I freed him from the humiliation you caused." Her voice cracked. 48 hours, Daniel. You have 48 hours to feel what I felt. The loss, the desperation. Then what? Then Emma joins her uncle Marcus. The line went dead. Elena stood in the doorway, Patrick in her arms, face white. The police? She has contacts everywhere. If we call them, Emma dies. So what do? We hunt. Hour 3. Elena's POV Daniel transformed before my eyes. The gentle surgeon disappeared, replaced by something primal. A father whose child had been taken. "Jennifer's resources are financial," he said, pulling up records on his laptop. "But she liquidated everything in the divorce. Where would she get money for this?" "Theodore?" "In prison. Unless." I pulled up Martin Morrison's number. "Martin, Theodore had hidden accounts, right?" "Dozens. We're still finding weight. One was accessed yesterday. 3 million withdrawn." "Jennifer." "She must have had his access codes." Daniel was already moving. "She needs somewhere to hold Emma. Somewhere soundproof. Isolated." "The Whitman shipping warehouse," I said. "Where Harold used to handle problems." Daniel grabbed his keys. "You take Patrick to Martin's. He has security." "I'm coming with you." "Elena. She's my daughter, too. Maybe not by blood, but by choice, by love." I handed Patrick to the neighbor we trusted, a retired cop who understood. We do this together. Hour 7. The warehouse. The Whitman warehouse sprawled along the waterfront like a dead beast. Abandoned since Harold's arrest, it should have been empty. But there were fresh tire tracks. A car hidden under a tarp, Jennifer's Bentley. "She's here," Daniel whispered. We entered through a loading dock, silent as surgery. The place smelled like rust and rot and old violence. How many people had Harold disappeared here? Then Emma's voice, singing, the song Elena always hummed while cooking. We followed the sound through a maze of containers and machinery. At the center, an office complex, probably Harold's old operational center. Jennifer stood outside a locked room, watching something on her phone. Surveillance feed of Emma inside, sitting on a mattress, singing to keep herself brave. Jennifer. She didn't startle, just smiled. Faster than I expected, but then you always were efficient. Let her go. This is between us. No, this is about loss. You took everything from me. You took everything from yourself, Elena said, stepping forward. Your hatred, your revenge. Shut up. Hired help. Jennifer pulled a gun. You're the worst part, the maid who thinks she can replace a real mother. I don't replace anyone. I just love without conditions. Love, Jennifer laughed. Love is weakness. Marcus taught me that. Hour 12. Emma's POV. I need to write this carefully from a child's perspective, but without exploiting the situation. The room was scary, but I'd been in scarier places. Like when Mommy and Uncle Marcus would fight and forget I was there, or when Daddy found out about the bad things and cried when he thought I was asleep. Mrs. Whitman, I wasn't supposed to call her Aunt Jennifer anymore, had grabbed me at school. Said Daddy was hurt, needed me. But I knew she was lying. Her smile was wrong, like when Mommy used to smile before doing something mean. So I sang Elena's song and waited. Daddy would come. Elena would come. They always did. The door opened. Not Daddy, another woman. She looked sick, thin, with eyes like Mommy's when she went away. Emma? Aunt Sophia? She wasn't supposed to be here. She was supposed to be getting better in Switzerland. Oh, sweetheart. She knelt beside me. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. Hour 13. Sophia's POV Jennifer had called me, told me Emma was in danger, that I could redeem myself by helping. I should have known it was a trap. But when I saw Emma, my daughter, the child I'd failed so completely, I couldn't leave. We're going to play a game, I told her. A hiding game. From Mrs. Whitman? Smart girl. Too smart for her own good, like her father. Yes, she's not. Well. Like you weren't well? The truth from a 9-year-old's mouth. Yes, like that. I heard voices. Daniel, Elena, Jennifer, getting closer. Emma, remember the emergency plan Daddy taught you if there's danger? Run, hide, call 911. Good. When I open this door, you run. Don't stop. Don't look back. What about you? I thought about all my failures, all my poisons, all my betrayals. Maybe this could be my one good act. I'll be right behind you. Hour 14. The confrontation, Daniel's POV. Jennifer had Sophia on her knees, gun to her head. Emma was gone, hopefully running. Did you really think bringing her would help? Jennifer asked. The woman who started all this? I didn't bring her, I said. You did. To show Emma what happens to people who betray family. She pressed the gun harder against Sophia's temple. Any last words? Sophia looked at me. Tell Emma I finally did something right. She moved fast, desperate, grabbing Jennifer's gun hand. They struggled, two women destroyed by their own choices, fighting in the ruins of Harold Whitman's empire. The gun fired. Both women fell, but only Jennifer was bleeding. Sophia had turned the gun at the last second, Jennifer's own finger on the trigger. Self-defense, Sophia gasped. Everyone saw it. Jennifer laughed, blood bubbling from her chest. You think, you've won? No one won, I said, kneeling beside her, doctor instincts overriding everything. This whole war, no one won. Marcus, she whispered. Tell Marcus I'm coming. She died looking at something none of us could see. Hour 16. Aftermath, the police came. Statements were taken. Sophia had saved Emma, turned Jennifer's weapon against her. Clear self-defense. Emma was safe, traumatized but whole. She clung to Elena and me like we might disappear. Is it over? She asked. Really over? Yes, baby, it's over. But Sophia was leaving again. Switzerland? I asked. No, somewhere new. Somewhere I can't hurt anyone. She looked at Emma, asleep in Elena's arms. Tell her. When she's older. Tell her I learned how to love correctly, even if it was too late. Sophia. Let me go, Daniel. It's the kindest thing you can do. So we did. 48. Home 2 days later, life resumed its rhythm. Emma went back to school with a counselor's support. Patrick learned a new word, safe. Elena and I moved forward together, building something from the wreckage. Martin Morrison visited, bringing toys for the kids and news. Theodore killed himself in prison. Real suicide this time. Left a note saying Jake Morrison could finally rest. And Jennifer's kids? With their grandparents, they'll be okay. Kids are resilient. He was right. Emma was already laughing again, helping Elena cook dinner, teaching Patrick to paint. That night, as we tucked the kids in, Emma asked, "Are we a real family now?" "We've always been real," Elena said, "just not traditional." "Good. Traditional is boring." She fell asleep smiling. Daniel and I stood in the hallway watching our children sleep. "We survived," I said. "More than that," Daniel pulled me close. "We lived." The hunt was over. The healing could finally begin. Chapter 20, Seattle. 3 years later, the operating room at Seattle General felt like coming home. I stood at the observation window watching Dr. Patricia Thompson, formerly Patricia Morrison, perform the delicate craniotomy. She'd insisted I observe, said it was important. "See that?" she said through the intercom. "Right there, where the tumor was? That's where they hid the device in my sister. Patricia Morrison. Jake's the real Jake's younger sister. The one who'd been away at medical school when the accident happened. The one who'd watched Theodore Blackwood steal her brother's identity and use it for revenge. You knew," I said. "All along, you knew who Theodore was." "I knew, but I also knew he was destroying the people who killed my family, so I let him." She continued working, hand steady. "Until he went after children. That's when I called Martin." The patient on the table was familiar. Sophia, a real tumor this time, caught early. Benign. Operable. "Why did you call me?" I asked. "Because she asked for you. Said you were the only surgeon she trusted to either save her or let her die peacefully." Through the observation window, I watched Patricia work with the same precision I'd once brought to revenge. But this was different. This was healing. Later, hospital cafeteria, Sophia woke up 12 hours post-op, alive and tumor-free. I sat beside her bed while she recovered. "Why?" she asked. "Why save me again?" "I didn't. Dr. Morrison did." The irony isn't lost on me. She touched the bandages. A Morrison saving the person who killed her family. Patricia says forgiveness is more precise than revenge, cuts out only what's diseased, leaves the healthy tissue intact. Surgical metaphors, you haven't changed. Everything's changed. Elena entered with Emma and Patrick. Emma, 12 now, tall and confident. Patrick, 3, Daniel's eyes and Sophia's stubborn chin. "Mom," Emma said carefully. They'd been rebuilding, slowly, supervised visits becoming real connection. "Hi, sweetheart." Patrick hid behind Elena's leg, shy with this stranger who'd given birth to him. "It's okay," Sophia said. "I'm just someone who needed help, like in Elena's stories." "The broken queen," Patrick said, remembering Elena's bedtime tales, "who learned to be good." "That's right." Miami 6 months later, the wedding was small. Just family, our unconventional, rebuilt, scarred but healing family. Emma as maid of honor, Patrick as ring bearer, Martin Morrison officiating. He'd gotten ordained online as a joke, but it stuck. Patricia Morrison attended, now a friend. She'd taken over my practice in Seattle when we decided to stay in Miami. Even Sophia came, clean for 3 years, teaching art therapy at a women's shelter, learning to help instead of harm. "Do you, Daniel Cross, take Elena Rodriguez?" "Her name is Isabella Cortez," Sophia interrupted, standing, "and she deserves to marry you under her real name." The small crowd stirred, but Elena smiled. "Isabella Elena Cortez Rodriguez," she said. "All my names, all my selves, all marrying all of him." "Well then," Martin continued, "do you, Daniel Cross, take Isabella Elena Cortez Rodriguez?" "I do." "Do you, Isabella, all of you take Daniel?" "Sigh, yes. In all languages, yes." We kissed as the Miami sun set over the bay, our children cheering, our former enemies applauding, our dead finally at rest. The reception. A toast, Sophia stood, champagne in hand, sparkling cider. Actually, she didn't drink anymore. To surgical precision, to cutting away what's poisoned and saving what's pure. To Daniel, who carved out my cruelty but left my heart. To Elena Isabella, who showed me that servants can be queens. To Emma, who forgave the unforgivable. To Patrick, who'll never know how broken we all were because of how whole we're becoming. She raised her glass higher. And to Marcus, wherever he is, who loved wrong but loved fiercely, may he find peace. We drank, even Jennifer's children, who Martin had brought. They were teenagers now, thriving with their grandparents. The poison of their parents' marriage finally metabolized into something like wisdom. My turn, Patricia Morrison stood. To my family, the Morrisons who died, and Theodore who killed them again with his twisted revenge. But also to this family, built from the wreckage. You took a psychopath's fantasy and turned it into something real, something good. Emma stood next, 12 years old but ancient in her understanding. To Mom, who's learning. To Dad, who never stopped believing in good. To Elena, Isabella, no, Mom too, who showed me that love isn't blood, it's choice. To Patrick, my little brother, who I'll protect forever. And to everyone here who chose to heal instead of hurt. There wasn't a dry eye left. Later, the beach Daniel and I walked along the sand while the kids played in the waves, supervised by their collection of aunts, uncles, and whatever Sophia was, their biological mother becoming something like a distant aunt, present but boundaried. Any regrets? Daniel asked. About which part? The murders? The lies? The running? Any of it. I thought about Ricardo in Valencia, dead by my hand. About the Whitmans, destroyed by our careful surgery. About Jennifer, dead in that warehouse. About Theodore, the fake Jake, twisted by borrowed grief into something monstrous. No, I said finally. Every cut was necessary. Every removal required. Very surgical of you. I learned from the best. He pulled me close as the sun set. What now? Now we live. We raise our children. We practice medicine. We help where we can, cut where we must. Together? Siempre. Always. 2 years later, local news report playing in the background of a Miami restaurant. In other news, Seattle tech millionaire Jake Morrison's estate has announced a new charitable foundation focused on drunk driving prevention and victim support. The Morrison Foundation, run by Patricia and Martin Morrison, has already donated $50 million to trauma centers across the country. I turned from the TV to watch our family at dinner. Emma, 14, brilliant and kind, already talking about medical school. Patrick, 5, playing with his food while telling elaborate stories. Daniel, graying at the temples but still precise in every movement. And Sophia, visiting for Patrick's birthday, sober 5 years, teaching him to paint while carefully maintaining the boundaries that kept everyone safe. A toast, Daniel raised his water glass. To surgical precision. To surgical precision, we echoed. But I added quietly, and to knowing when to stop cutting. The waiter approached. Excuse me, are you Dr. Cross, the neurosurgeon? I am. My daughter, you saved her, 7 years ago. Lucy, the tumor? Daniel smiled, that real smile that had returned after years of careful restoration. Lucy, how is she? Perfect, wants to be a doctor now, like you. Tell her the best doctors know when to heal and when to cut, but mostly they know the difference. The man left, grateful, not knowing he'd just met the architect of Seattle's greatest scandal, the surgeon who'd removed an entire empire with the precision of a scalpel. But that was the past. Surgery completed. Patient recovered. We were no longer defined by what we'd cut away, but by what we'd chosen to keep. Family. Love. The precise decision to heal. Ready to go home? Daniel asked. I am home, I said, looking at our table of beautiful damage, rebuilt into something stronger. We all are. And for the first time in any of our lives, it was true. The surgery was complete. The patient had survived. We were whole. The end. Some wounds heal. Others we learn to live with. But the deepest cuts, the ones that remove the disease completely, those are the ones that save us, even when they nearly kill us first.